You can close the door and maybe.
She needed to start the meeting. Just she was the organizer.
Oh, so even if we join, it has not started the meeting. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Can people hear me? Those online, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Or I can hear you.
Okay.
I see there's another person also who confirmed that they can hear you. But I believe people are still joining. So maybe we can give them a few minutes. Is the moderator already online? Sorry, the facilitator. Dr. Mo? Dr. Hui?
Good morning. Good morning. People are muted. Good morning, colleagues. We'll start shortly. We are just waiting for the presenter to join us. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why I can't hear anyone from my laptop, but I understand you can hear me.
Good morning, everyone. Please test if you can unmute yourselves.
Good morning, Dr. Vui.
Okay, great. Thank
Yes,
you.
we can.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yes. My sound system is now okay.
All right.
All right, so we'll just wait for Prof to join us. Once he joins, then we will start. Good morning, Prof. Kawawa.
Good morning, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I can hear you from my end. I'm not sure about other participants. Please just indicate that you can hear Prof. Kawawa.
Yes, we can hear him.
Okay, great. Maybe we just give a minute for more people to join and then we can start. Yeah. Okay, I think we can start. We have 12 people who have joined. People will join, I think, as we move forward. Good morning, everyone, and a very good morning to Professor Kawawa, who has taken his time, to come and join us and to offer this presentation today. Professor Kawawa, you are welcome. You are warmly welcome. SGSP is your home. And I think maybe to just give a brief introduction, Professor Kawawa Banda, he's a professor at the University of Zambia. But I think for us, he's the chairperson of the academic and scientific advisory committee of the SASCAL Graduate Studies Program in Integrated Water Resource Management. So he's not, how can I say it? So he's part of the SGSP. He's one of those that is chairing actually the leadership of the program. And we are really excited to have him come on board to just share with us what opportunities, as PhD, graduate. I think most of you are in your final years. You're about to go in the marketplace. What is it that you can find out there? And I think that is what Prof. Kawawa today is going to share with us. So I'll not introduce him in detail. I think he will do that himself. I'll allow him to start his presentation. Just for information, we have from 9 until 10, Prof. Kawawa, it's your time. You can do whatever you wish with us. And then after that, someone else will also come on board to also give the presentation. It's still within the same seminar, which is Unlocking Your Future, Career Opportunities for PhD Graduate and Essential Job Application. So we'll later also have someone from Human Resource that is going to share with us on how you can actually prepare yourself in terms of job application, how you can tailor your CVs and all that. So we'll hear that if you stay tuned with us. So Professor Kawawa Banda, the floor is yours. You are most welcome. You go ahead as you deem appropriate. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Mabuku. May I be allowed to share? I don't seem to have the option to share my presentation. It's dim.
Oh, okay. Okay. Ronel, can you just give him the sharing rights?
I'll do so in a minute. Just give me a moment.
I can also do something. I see here where it's saying make a presenter. I think I've done something.
Yes. Yeah, now I can.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Just a minute. Okay, please confirm if you can see my screen.
We can see, Prof. We can see.
Okay, good. So, good morning to everyone on the call, and good morning, SGSP. Thank you very much for inviting me to this talk. I think if myself, I heard such kind of a talk when I was doing my PhD, I feel like I've been a better person and been more prepared for what perhaps awaited me in the future. So I take it a privilege, and it's very exciting to share with you my experiences. Firstly, from the academic perspective, but also as a former PhD student, if you like. Okay, so as part of my introduction, I want also to mention that I am the Ora Tambo Research Chair in Water Conservation, which is a flagship program of actually the NRF of South Africa, partly also funded by the National Science and Technology Council of Zambia. So just for you to note that aspect. So I'll first of all bring out one of my most abused pictures of myself, which you see there. Just to introduce myself, that I'm an associate professor of water resources at the University of Zambia, but I also coordinate a center called the Integrated Water Resource Management Center here at UNZA, which is a center of excellency looking at water issues not only in Zambia, but also in the region as well. And I've already mentioned that I'm also Otachi Chair in water conservation. But this you might not know, I also volunteer as a network manager for the Africa Groundwater Network, which is well, it's a voluntary kind of association where we promote groundwater to make it visible. As you know, it is not visible to us, and we try to uplift it so that it becomes visible to the rest of the world, if you like. So it's an African-wide network of experts, academics, practitioners who work around this particular scope of groundwater issues for Africa. And of course, as mentioned, I'm also chairing SGSP, the ASEC, ASP committee, if you like, of the team. And of course, many other issues. I'm a father, I'm a family man, if you like, I'm a husband. All those things are part of what defines me. And sometimes we often forget that aspect. So number one aspect I want to register to you in terms of your future is that you also have to take issues of your family along as part of your well-being in this space of having acquired a PhD thereafter. So what are my research interests? I mainly work around water resources, and I try to combine both surface water and groundwater aspects. I always look at these two issues like the way we look at gender. We often at some stage forgot about the girl child, or at least trying to integrate, or at least make them more equal, if you like. This issue of equality between males and females is the way I look at groundwater and surface water issues, that we must look at them from an equal kind of status, and we need to understand them to draw holistic understanding of this resource. And of course, I look at water from an integrated perspective, meaning that I don't want to look at it only from a silo perspective, but look at it from a system that it's many pieces, from stakeholder issues to more technical, scientific aspects, that we need to put together to draw this big picture of, what the resource is about. Okay, but more specifically, I do things around environmental quality modeling, e-flows, water accounting. It's a whole range of different issues, but I'm very, very specific to say I like to look at the resource as a single unit, okay, not split them as per se. Okay, so let's move along. So like I said, because I'm talking to people who may not have heard of the University of Zambia, University of Zambia is the largest university in Zambia. And we always say that we are 13 schools, 3 directorates, 3 institutes across the entire country, with a student populace of just above 25,000. The last statistics I heard, we were now topping around 30 or maybe about 32,000 students, cutting across undergraduate, postgraduates, and the distance learning, programs. And the motto, at least what has guided the university from its inception in 1965, has been the perspective of service and excellency. So, like I said, I coordinate a unit. This unit was established in 2006 with the core, mandate to build capacity in water management in Zambia, but also to improve the water sector performance and sustainability, if you like. So it's got this broad, theme it's trying to respond to, but it was really driven by an act of parliament, which later came in 2011, looking at issues of water management through an act that formed an authority looking at water resource management, but also the thinking or the paradigm around issues to do with IWM per se. And we provide consultancy services, education, training in the field of IWM. And you can see some of the in-field pictures of some of my students, as well as, myself, collecting data per se. So we, as a unit, are working across, several, areas across mainly the Zambezi, but Zambia is very transboundary in the way in which, it sits. So we work across, different themes with different funding options available to us. And you can see we've got all these circles dotted around, from issues to do with more interbasin, transfer aspects to do with water between the Congo and the Zambezi Basin, and that's what you see on top there, into climate issues, WEF issues, nexus issues, and environmental issues across different aspects of the country. So we're pretty busy with a portfolio of, I think I've got maybe 60 or 70 students now that are part of the network. But since inception, we've graduated in excess of, I think, 200 students out of the system, with a lot of them, or at least another batch associated to more tailor-made type of, training that we've done with different stakeholders. Okay, now let's move into a very specific aspect of the presentation, which is looking at, I don't know how you're seeing, Dr. Mabuko, are you seeing my presentation in full, or you're seeing it in a different display, so that I make sure
It's in a different display, because we can even see your next slide.
Okay, yes. Okay, let me try to change this. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Now it's fine.
Now it's fine. Okay, good.
Yes.
So my substantive presentation after that introduction of where I'm coming from is to talk with us, or at least to discuss today career opportunities for PhD graduates. Okay, beyond that thesis, beyond those papers that you're busy pushing at, what should the future look like? How can I succeed as a young graduate with a PhD? First of all, I want to put it to you that the PhD qualification is the highest level of academic qualification you're ever going to receive. There's nothing beyond that. So you've attained the highest qualification at the end of that particular journey. Okay. However, there are very, very unique benefits of having attained that particular PhD qualification. Number one, by you, for example, qualifying as PhD, say in integrated water resources management, okay? What we are telling the world is that you are now a domain expert, okay? You're a domain expert in that particular field. So you need to assert yourself as a domain expert in that particular area, which is very, very unique. If you graduated with a bachelor's or a master's, would not call you a domain expert. Okay, it would still say you're still being trained to the ranks. So you've attained the status of someone who is an expert, qualified in that particular area. Now, how useful is that particular qualification in my domain? It depends on what you actually, study. If you are looking at things, for example, I had a colleague who was looking at things to do with explosives. Okay, his PhD was around things to do with explosives from the US. Okay, in the US setting, maybe that's very useful, but bringing it to a setting like in sub-Saharan Africa, you may not, draw the benefit of being a domain expert in that particular realm. So it's very important in the way you choose the PhD study to make sure that it's responsive to the perspective that you are a domain expert and can actually apply the things that you are learning in the end. Okay. Then also very important, and sometimes we forget that this is an important, outcome or benefit that you draw out of a PhD, is the idea of transferable skills. Okay, skills around communication, skills around organizational tech skills or techniques, making sure that certain tasks or certain deliverables you plan out how you're going to do it, you execute as per the way you want it to go. Of course, sometimes things go wrong. You need to readjust, but there are also some skills that you are learning from that particular journey during your PhD. So that's very important. I'll have a follow-up slide on that also. Of course, also you attend conferences, seminars, some open forums like this one. You're also drawing another network, okay, out of that. Okay, maybe I'll remember, oh, I was part of, for example, you write to me and say, oh, I was part of the SGSP program. I'll remember that, oh yeah, I did exchange something with SGSP, students at some stage. And I hope on the call, yes, I can see some of my students also here. The idea that you are associated maybe through a research stay. I know that SGSP, you had a research stay in Germany, maybe through a seminar, a conference you attended, you are actually creating a network. Your network is actually your wealth. Okay, you can draw a lot of benefits out of really capitalizing on that network. You can only get that in a PhD program. That is a very big benefit. Of course, there's also this issue of career options. The career options that come as coming from your PhD qualification obviously will be very skewed to your specialization. Okay, that is if you stay in your area. I know of a lot of my colleagues, for example, who have had to diversify a little bit into other aspects, but you can only get that perhaps option or opportunity, if you are very applicable, you apply yourself, and also quite diverse in the way that you carry yourself, or the way in which you improve yourself even after your PhD qualification. And of course, some people are motivated by money. Okay, so the idea that my earning potential is even higher. Okay, I can go and settle in the US, I can settle in Canada, I can settle in in Europe, whichever you feel would draw the best earning out of that qualification. That is also an opportunity you draw out of a PhD, because you've got the highest level of qualification and a domain expert in your own right in that particular area that you're looking at. But I want to spend a very, very important aspect, or at least talk about a very important aspect to do with transferable skills. Okay, transferable skills. Now, transferable skills are those skills sometimes which Mr. William or William, your mic is on. There's a bit of background noise. Sorry about that. If you could kindly mute. Okay, so transferable skills are those which are normally intangible. Okay, we sometimes forget about them, but they're very important. Okay, these transferable skills also, to a large extent, set you apart. Okay, most and I'm not sure whether people, or at least people on the call, realize this. Okay, when you complete your PhD, okay, the assumption that all of us have is that you struggled to get that PhD. Okay, meaning that you persevered, you are determined. At some stage, maybe you had all these different experiments that you're trying to do. Some didn't work, some worked. But the idea that you persevered, you were determined to see the task to an end, is already a very, very important quality, okay, that we want to also to draw out of a PhD graduate. Okay, you don't always get that particular type of training in other qualifications that you may attain, right? So within a PhD, these skills of patience, sometimes you have to do an experiment so many times. You have to be patient. Okay, maybe your paper gets rejected. I have had my papers rejected before. Okay, you go back, you fight with the reviewers, you do all this back and forth. Sometimes you have to be proactive in the way that you do things. Okay, I had one of my PhD students a few years ago. I will not mention the name in case my students can detect who that is. Who came to me and said, "Look, I have been on this journey of trying to conclude on my thesis work, but hey, I feel like this component, okay, of my thesis is very, very difficult to attend." So this person was trying to couple two models. Okay, he was coupling a hydraulic model and a hydrology model. Okay, so the flows and the hydraulics associated with that. It's very difficult mathematically to bring these two together, especially that there's no tailor-made software. You have to combine it, write some code, move these things, cut here, all those kind of things. Technically, quite difficult. So he struggled with that aspect. Okay, and I could see him every day getting frustrated. I did not want to be the one telling him to say, no, you must, cut that aspect, okay? Because I wanted him to persevere. I wanted him to learn some skills of seeing something through, because that's very, very important, okay? This person eventually came back and said, okay, I think I would like to maybe push this into some sort of postdoc. Can I conclude it up to here? I agreed with him, okay? But I was very happy that he was proactive enough. Okay, this person, as we speak right now, he's one of the industry leaders, because I know that part of his skill set is this idea of being proactive, making decisions, even if it's wrong, as long as you've decided that this is the way that I want to, proceed. Maybe you hit a roadblock block in front, but the idea that you are, persistent, proactive is a very, very important skill, because this is part of what your supervisor will remember about you. Okay, because if you're a PhD graduate, you must remember that your supervisor is also a potential employer of yours. Okay, getting into, for example, a postdoc, or even maybe there's a research position. If you are going to work in the academic space, right? There's maybe a potential research position. He will be the one to stand up and say, no, but I think we should give this person a chance, as well, to do some of the things. So let's not forget how important transferable skills are in this journey of us doing our PhD studies. Now, what career options do I have? Or what career options are available to me as a PhD graduate? Okay, don't worry about the German language there on the academic stuff, but I like this figure a lot because it shows that you've basically got three options. Okay, the option that you try to get into academia, okay, meaning that you run through the ranks of academics. That is from maybe an entry-level lecturer. Some institutions have got different ranking depending on where you enter. If you enter as a PhD, graduate, you'll be maybe assistant professor. For universities like UNZA, for example, you enter as lecturer 2, which is just a second level from entry, right? Because they're still saying you need to maybe amass certain type of experience and skills that will then allow you to move to the next position in that sense. So there's an academic path for you that you could follow. Others, okay, could follow a postdoc kind of position. Now with postdoc, the idea there is that you want to get some skills for mainly working in the academic space, okay, but there could be other things that you then do even after acquiring the postdocs. And the advantages of doing a postdoc, I'll talk about that in the subsequent slides, okay? But there's also another aspect of non-university career paths, okay? Maybe you could get into business. You identify that during your PhD studies, maybe there's a particular attribute of your study that looks very that looks like it's got a lot of potential to upscale into maybe a business kind of venture, or it could be that you are an industry PhD. Okay, industry PhDs are a new mode of training PhDs, because there's a realization that some people just start from bachelor's straight into a PhD. Okay, so at PhD level they can be associated with an industry partner, where they're also obtaining these practical hands-on skills as they are upgrading themselves with that qualification of a PhD graduate out of it. So industry PhDs link some internship or attachment with it, which makes them very attractive to industry, because then this person can immediately be absorbed by industry as well. Then you could get into some NGOs. There's some public sector entities or associations or NGOs that like people with PhD qualifications. Okay, so public sector, it could be bilateral partners, for example, African Development Bank, the European Union. They like people with this specialized skills to support activities that they are implementing, because then those people could serve as a means of checking, especially with the consultants that are engaged. Okay, are they actually doing things correctly, state of the art? Then it reduces some of the operational costs in the way that they're doing things. There are also some non-university research institutes, okay, that are specialized or focused into research outputs that may be talking to policy, They want people with specialized, skills to then support some of their policy pronouncements or analysis to feed into policy, making, if you like. So there's another non-university path. So let's try to look at these career paths, in the subsequent slides. So the first career path I've taken deliberately a UK-based type of career path. Okay, that is if you want to go into academics. Okay, because most of at least Southern Africa were colonized by British, so I'll stick to this British system. So there, with your PhD, you could rise. Of course, there are different types of universities. Okay, there are some universities that are more teaching based, some which are research based, others which combine research and teaching. Most of the public universities in sub-Saharan Africa actually combine research and teaching together. Okay, so you start off as an entry-level lecturer or assistant, professor, and then you rise to associate professor. Some they start lecturer, then assistant professor, senior lecturer, then associate professor to full professor, afterwards. So there's that career path, and this is really guided by criteria from different universities. Okay, aspects such as how many papers or publications that you have, how many research students that you have, how much money have you brought to the university, how much contribution have you made to society. So there's also a public aspect. How many curricula or have you reviewed or developed during your time, as a lecturer, or at least into the level that you want to apply for. There are criteria that criteria that need to be followed for you to graduate. Okay, so that's for you to promote it. So it's very important to note that if you take an academic path, okay, you need to still be productive to move in between the different ranks, and the productivity is then linked to a criteria that your university will have, prescribed, for the employees that may be there. I'm informed that HR will come and talk about maybe some of these things, inclusive of how you skew your CV and all that. But I want to mention that academic careers should not be a default route. Okay, academic careers should not be a default route. In a study that was done by Nature, okay, it showed that the majority, of course, of graduates are opting. I'm getting some feedback. Hello, Dr. Mabuko, I'm getting some feedback from somebody. I think Catherine.
Yes, I'm not sure it's coming. Catherine, I think Catherine, your mic.
Let me mute all of them.
Yeah, let's see. It's Catherine, I think. Okay, I think now it's fine.
Okay, thank you. Right, so academic careers should not necessarily be a default route that you take. Okay, of course, several studies have shown that most people who want to do a PhD, who want to take an academic path. Okay, so, for example, this is a study from Nature where they show about 48%, right? Maybe almost 50. Half of the people want to take this academia. The rest maybe want to go into different fields, mainly industry or maybe self-employment as per se. Okay, but in the UK alone, right? This is just taking it from the UK perspective. What we are seeing is that you've got this almost 30%, right? Very, very few. Maybe it's an element of development, okay, that needs to further investigation. Okay, however, my key message here is that taking an academic route should not be the default setting. Okay, there are advantages, of course. Okay, if you take an academic route, even if you took a non-academic, there are some advantages. Okay, and most people want to compare the advantage around how much free time I have to do other things. Okay, with an academic kind of career, again, it depends on the setting in which you are. Okay, the feeling always is that there is some flexibility to then not only focus on an academic work, but it could also be that you need to do public service, you also need to do research and teaching, right? So it's sort of a three-pillar, sometimes four-pillar. Some also say also some innovation should be attached to the things that you do. So it's not only, you know, I'm teaching, or not only I'm doing research, but it's a multifaceted kind of you know, activity, of which sometimes some people are not doing all those things. So they feel that they've got enough time then to do things that are more personal in nature. Okay. Of course, if you're a freelance person, you determine how your program looks like. Even though you are very highly skilled, but your freedom, okay, is not restricted to a certain entity, different from a more corporate kind of setting, which is restrictive in terms of how much flexibility that you have. Maybe that is also tied to the remuneration, like how much they also are paying you and those kind of things. So they'll make sure that they really capitalize on your availability during that particular time. So I want to put it out there that when you take an academic route, okay, it shouldn't only be you thinking about, I'm going to be a lecturer or I'm going to be a professor in the end. But it could be that you want to become a research scientist. Okay. Nowadays, more and more universities are establishing maybe directorates or administrative offices. Okay, that are really taking care of research activities in universities. Okay, so for example, your grants office will have a grant administrator. It will have maybe a manager in charge of industry and academic collaborations, a technology transfer person, a fundraising person in there. So those facets are also available to you. Okay, and if you've done a postdoc, even better, because then if I've got one with a PhD and one who's done a postdoc, I'll assume, or at least I'm hoping that through his CV, he will demonstrate or they'll show that they've had experience around grant writing and you know, getting money in the system, so exposed to different types of cause besides their research activities that they have done. So they're one step ahead of the other person who then is also applying for the same role. So let's think broadly that I shouldn't only be thinking around being a lecturer. Okay, some people are not called to teach. Okay, let's be honest. Okay, others maybe are more admin, but very good at you know, sourcing for funding, writing proposals, maybe more around research management, you know, as a career. So we can also take that, and more universities nowadays. Okay, for example, I'll talk on behalf of Zambia that now the government has promulgated a law that all universities must have a research DVC. Okay, so on the basis of a research DVC being available at the university, he has to have you know, an office, or at least people under him that are then looking at the different facets of what research should have. So the innovation part, the technology transfer part, also bringing in money, the fundraising part, those people, the preference is for people with PhDs. Okay, and if you do a postdoc, even better, because then it allows that you know, you've got experiences around this type of aspects. There are of course additional things. Okay, you can choose to go into consulting, right? There are some small I'm not sure whether some of you are aware of this, but there are a lot of businesses now that support your journal submission and eventually your publication process. Okay, for example, Elsevier has got vendors. Okay, those are consultants, most of them, who are subject matter experts. So they will review a paper. They can provide services like making sure the English is properly done. Okay, making sure that it's technically sound. They can provide you advice. They can also make sure that they check maybe your yeah, just the quality of the technical rigor that particular document is carrying. Okay, there are services out there, and as long as you could, you know, I think we need to establish some of these things in sub-Saharan Africa. There are more people now doing PhDs, doing postgraduate studies, submitting into papers, who need this kind of services. Okay, and the person with a PhD with the correct scientific writing skills, the correct communication skills actually fits to be this type of person that can help. Of course, if you like, you can also diversify a bit, go into things like venture capital. This is depending on how you're applying things like your IP skills, or how you understand technology transfer should actually take place. Okay, so that being said, and very importantly, I want also to mention that if you take an academic kind of route, you need to understand what actually makes a good academic. Okay, what makes actually a good academic, right? And a good academic is one that, if possible, has done a postdoc. Okay, has done a postdoc, meaning that through that postdoc, you have got some sort of a stepping stone, okay, to then become a more high level academic, right? Of course, you have to go through the ranking and all that, but your postdoc gives you some experience in terms of how you should actually, go around this kind of thing. It also allows us to maybe for you to appreciate, that this is how the academic environment, works, and also demonstrates to people that you actually enjoy being in the academic space, because you want to be in this environment where people are doing research to that particular postdoc. Sometimes it is a basis for you to continue the work that you are doing, meaning that maybe there are some leftovers in the research, and then you want to carry it forward, also per se. Okay, but I also want to put it forward that as you are taking an academic, or at least a research management related kind of career, you also need to get or look for a mentor. Okay, we shouldn't miss the idea that people just drop from nowhere. Show me a successful academic. Okay, show me a successful research person. Okay, I'll also point to you who mentored them. Okay, there's a lot of benefit from learning from others who've gone before you, because they'll provide a means of, like a kind of a torch bearer to guide you. Okay, in this situation, this is what we do. Maybe you need to look more around this kind of opportunities. It helps, because then also when you're putting out your promotional applications, it also makes sure that it's very well rounded. Okay, rather than you doing it all alone and then realizing at the end, say, oh, I should have focused on this rather than that. Try to draw benefit and wisdom from expertise that, or people who've gone before you. There's a lot of value in doing that. Also, get into a network. Okay, get into a network. There are so many networks that exist around your subject area of interest. Okay, if you work in the water space, you probably have heard of WaterNet. Okay, WaterNet is an important one because then that is where all these different from policy, from government, if you like, academia, industry, all of them meet at that particular, or in that particular setting of WaterNet. So WaterNet is a very good platform as a network to then get contacts, to grow your network, sometimes also for opportunities, okay, that are only present through that particular network. So look out for these. AGNet, this is the groundwater one. PeriPeriU is a disaster management one. It's currently for Africa, it's being coordinated under Stellenbosch. Those are very good platforms. Okay, so try to reach out to your grant office. Try to reach out to maybe some active researchers in your space and find out, you always seem to be attending conferences, or you always seem to be busy with different things. Is there some network or some association maybe I can keep track of? You realize that they're probably linked to these kinds of networks as well. Then also you need to make sure, if you want to succeed in this academic space, you need to stay relevant. Okay, what do I mean by staying relevant? You need to get in some kind of a consultation or consultancy role as a domain expert. It's okay to do academics, to write papers, to teach, okay, to do community service. But as part of that, try to get that practical, hands-on experience so that you're not detached, okay, from reality, and your research is also informed by the type of consultancy or contracted research that you're doing for different entities. So that's very important if you want to stay relevant and get points, or at least grow ahead in terms of the things that you need to do. Of course, you also need to keep publishing. Okay, your thesis is actually a gold mine, a very big gold mine. You need to mine it. Okay, mine it left, right, center, such that you're pulling out different types of papers. If you're doing the monograph type, I know that nowadays there's this encouragement of paper-based type of research, but then even there, okay, you can still keep maybe improving some of the things that you thought, okay, I can still go back to this, maybe, push this, round up, because then it's asserting the idea that you are actually a domain expert with an international profile that goes with your outcomes. Okay, very important also is that you need to enjoy what you do. Okay, you need to love what you do. Okay, almost all the different forums have provided training externally. My students always come to me and say, we really enjoyed your class. Okay, we couldn't wait to come to your class, but the way that you should keep doing that is always asking for feedback. In my class, I always ask my students, okay, who's taking feedback for today? I give them a small paper. At the end of the class, they come to me and say, okay, this went well, this didn't go well. Maybe you need to show us more examples where you yourself are solving, they tell me those kind of things. Okay, so you need to thrive on feedback from other people that then allows you to grow in that particular space. Don't be afraid of feedback. Okay, if you're afraid of feedback, you're likely not going to grow in the space that you may be in. So what essential job application tips, as I'm concluding with my last few slides, of course, to get ahead, you need to make sure that you expand your horizon in which you are looking out for a job. Maybe you struggled or you struggle after you finish your PhD, right? Try to expand your horizon. Maybe you shouldn't just focus on your main area of specialization. Try to look more into maybe related type of research. Okay, if for example you are working natural resources, right? Natural resources most likely is related to other aspects that you can still apply yourself in. Try to explore those areas also, so that you can widen your scope in terms of how you can get an opportunity or a job thereafter. Also seek some sort of constructive criticism. Okay, nowadays we've got professional HR entities that can help. Okay, and I'm glad to hear that HR is coming today for some presentation. So let's try to talk with them as well to say, how can I improve? Maybe you need to demonstrate certain skills more in the way that you write out your CV. Remember, if you're applying for a job, okay, the job has got certain responsibilities and roles that have been outlined. Your CV needs to respond to those particular roles. Okay, we should see very clearly, okay, if you want an academic job, do they have, for example, a teaching practicing certificate? Have they worked in this space before? Those kind of things. Those are very important in as far as making sure that there's alignment between your job and the type of application that you want to make towards it, right? Then stay informed. Okay? Keep abreast with the changing times. What are the new methods, new techniques, tools, technologies that are evolving? Okay. Nowadays, for example, people do discharge measurements using drones. Okay, you don't need to go and maybe waddle through a river that is infested in crocodiles. You might just die out of nothing, right? You can run it using some drone technology and collect that data. Okay, so improve your skills to be more responsive, to be more attractive for that particular role that aligns application and skills that are needed for that. It's very, very important in whatever role that you choose. Okay, so for those, for example, who want to apply for jobs in the academic space, again, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I work in that space. Okay, you need to at least, what should I do if I wanted, for example, a job in academic space? Okay, try to get to an active professor or research professor, if you like. Okay, those people who are they seem busy. Okay, and that busy can be interpreted in different ways. Meaning, for example, they've got a large brand, or they've got a lot of research students that seemingly are always traveling, or seemingly are always in the field collecting data, or are always publishing. Okay, it means that that person has probably got a network or has got a portfolio, which they can then extend to a person like you who's just trying to get established. So get to them in any way you think would be possible. Okay, then it would be good also for you to subscribe to platforms. Okay, like for example, LinkedIn, where you're following some maybe research institutions, organizations that are related to the things that you're interested in. Okay, if again for researchers, they can also follow things like ResearchGate. That's also quite a useful, forum for your job search as well. Okay, then stay active in your professional network. Okay, whether it's, for example, WaterNet, whether it is, I don't know, whichever forum that is associated with the things that you do, try to stay active within that, because then they'll know, oh, we know this one from, blah, blah, blah. Also, do not dismiss the idea that you're with other people in your space. You see, the people that you are studying with or interacting with during your PhD studies are actually a very, very important resource for you. Okay, because they might be the ones who might be shouting your name in that meeting where someone needs to decide to say, who should we engage for this? So try to get close to your colleagues or try to have some cordial relationship with them, because once you graduate, they are also out there. Okay, and you never know how an opportunity presents itself through a colleague that you're with in university. When I studied in Denmark, for example, a lot of my colleagues that I was with at the moment are either professors or they are industry people, and I always get these very interesting requests. For example, oh, through ABCD, in Denmark, they recommended you to do this kind of work for us. Can you please review this, right? So it's very important that you build your network around the people that you're with, because they might be actually an opportunity for your next opportunity, that you might actually lay hands on. Also, sometimes, I'm not saying it's always the best, sometimes you might have to consider some sort of internship or even voluntary work, if you can, right? Pro bono work that doesn't pay you, but provides you a forum to learn something, to get into contacts or network with other people. Okay, try to look out for those opportunities that actually get you winning to associate with that particular entity or person. Lastly, I want to give some examples. I don't want just to talk in the air and say, okay, it was up in the air, but let's try to ground it. Okay, let me give some examples of some platforms that you can use if you are, for example, again within the academic space, applying for things like postdoc positions. Stellenbosch University has been very, very active through SciAx. Okay, with putting out every year, they put out calls for postdoc positions, for this particular institution. And I encourage you, if you're looking for a postdoc, SciAx at Stellenbosch has got very nice opportunities that can also help you to grow in that particular space. We've also got TWAS. I don't know whether people have heard of TWAS, but I've put the website there. You can read about what TWAS does. They provide, beyond just you just getting into a postdoc scholarship, they also provide research grants, okay, to people across the world, and they're a very good resource to look at. What about if I want to be a consultant, or I want to not be an academic type of space? Okay, I would like to encourage you to register as an expert. Remember, you are a domain expert. Okay, as a domain expert, you need to assert yourself as a domain expert. Okay, and don't be afraid. You can go, for example, I personally have signed up. So the EU platform has got an opportunity for you to sign up as an expert, a subject expert in an area. And you never know, some of the cause or things that they put out are actually targeted at people who are just fresh graduates. Okay, some reviews or some analysis, those you can do. It doesn't need someone with 10 years or 20 years experience. Okay, put your CV, put yourself out there in platforms like, for example, the EU expert profile platform. There's also an African Union one. Okay, sign up for those kinds of platform, because those will give you access to different opportunities out there to do with your area of expertise, and what assignments you could do even as a fresh graduate with limited experience. Okay, I have done that before through these kinds of platforms. You can also tap into this type of work. As I conclude, I also want to assert myself to show that I'm also contributing to the pool of postdocs, and to say that I'm urgently looking for a postdoc position at the University of Zambia. And take that picture if you need, but someone with some sort of hydrological modeling expertise or combining remote sensing and hydrological modeling would be excellent. And if you meet that criteria, please submit your CV through to me. And that's my email with that deadline attached to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Kawawa, for that amazing presentation. I think I didn't expect this much. Today, I'm amazed, and I'm sure our participants have actually benefited a lot from this. So we are giving you 10 minutes because the next presenter is supposed to start at 10. But we have asked the presenter to give us 10 minutes so that we can at least allow the participant to ask if they have any questions. So I'll just open the floor for anyone with a question, any clarification. Please, we have 10 minutes to do that. Any question from the participant? Just unmute and ask. Okay, I see Dr. Dlamini. Please come through. To use my laptop.
Thank you, Prof. Kawawa, for the very great presentation. I think we also benefited a lot from it. Then I'm not sure if mine is a question or just ask you to briefly speak about the value of joining professional organizations. I'll speak from my experience. Like, for example, in South Africa, we have SACNAPS, and then for natural scientists, where if you practice, for example, in the natural science space, is that some organizations require that as a mandatory that you subscribe. So some of them are statutory, some are voluntarily. I'm not sure if you would like to speak briefly on them, on the value of them.
Yeah. Okay. I can maybe take several questions and I can respond. Thank you, Doc.
I see there's a question from Lorica. Please, Lorica, come through.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mapuko, and thank you very much, Dr. Panda, for your presentation, which was very informative. I put this question actually on the chat while you were on the slide. There was an indication of a reader with a professor, and I wanted to find out what is a reader. Maybe if you can just elaborate a bit.
Okay.
Okay, do we have another person who wants to ask? Okay, we only have two so far. I see another one. Catherine, your hand is up. Please come through.
Thank you, Dr. Mabuku. Morning, Prof. Banda. I wanted to ask, I was quite interested when you talked about being relevant in your area of specialty. And it got me thinking, like, if I'm doing something which is a traditional based sort of research, how do I make it relevant to the times that I am now, you know? So yeah, basically.
Okay. Can I respond?
Okay. Yes, I think you can respond to these three.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Dr. Dlamini, professional membership versus voluntary membership. The truth of it is that some of them, even though statutory by nature, okay, people don't draw so much benefit out of them. However, because it is statutory, you've got no choice but to subscribe to them, because then it's a requirement by law that you are associated with them. And some of them that are active, what they do is that they have got, a way of linking people to industry players. Okay, so they've got these linkage programs. One of the very active ones, although these days I'm not seeing them, as active as they used to be. Maybe it's a funding issue, but what they used to do was that they would also provide some mentors, okay, for different fields or different areas, so that this is someone who then mentors you through your career path of interest. This is why it's good to belong to an association, because then you've got different people doing different things. Okay, for example, if even as an academic, I can still belong to an association. So you can get Prof. Banda in that particular forum, where now he identifies, okay, who are people within my space, and then I can mentor them, along, to go with. So they are very good. However, you must be mindful that some, maybe you might not immediately draw benefit out of them, but you need to subscribe to them anyway, because it's a mandatory requirement by law. The voluntary ones, some of them, again, you have to be very careful. Speak with people who are experienced in the field. Try to research around what they do. For example, the African Groundwater Network one, right? It's purely voluntary. Okay, I'm not paid as network manager for it, but every time certain organizations, I'll not list them, they want to have some training done around, for example, groundwater issues or surface water groundwater interactions, they always come to us to say, oh, as supporting what your network is doing, could you facilitate this? We'll cover this, this is. So in that way, there is some level of benefit in being part of a voluntary association, even though you're not being paid. So there are indirect benefits, if you like, in the end. So it's very good to do pro bono work. It exposes, especially if it's in your area, it exposes you to other aspects also that you can contribute in that sense. Then what is the reader? Okay, a reader is more around a full-time research professor. So this person doesn't teach, okay, but some universities, they have got people they employ as research professors that then just come to look for money, draw in resources into the university. They're not paid by the university directly. They're paid through a time allocation on the project that they are that they're getting funding, through. So that's a special type of arrangement where some universities have got this facility to allow that they get money and also continue to fund certain research, but also to keep certain names. Because sometimes if you're associated with a certain name, maybe the attention of the public is also more focused on what that institution is doing. Okay, so the universities are strategic in that way. Then Catherine, how do I, assert myself if I'm doing a traditional type of research or traditional type of activity into now pouring into the new technology, the new innovations out there? My advice, number one, is that try to get into, for example, a postdoc position that allows you to improve on such kind of skills, okay? Because a postdoc is someone who's immediately supposed to be productive. So you can learn on the go. That's part of the experience. Okay, you learn by doing. So I've got the traditional methods that are baseline. Okay, but when you are part of a research team, they'll introduce you to methods that they use or networks that are very experienced in those particular type of methods. And then you learn from them, and then you implement. And as you implement, you also acquire those particular skills to perform high level or complex type of analysis that you can have. So don't despise traditional methods. Those are the ones that are a foundational aspect, but try to get into links with people who are doing these new methods to then upgrade your skills in that particular sense. Okay, I think those were the questions that I had. Dr. Mabuku, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we have taken our 10 minutes and our next speaker is actually online already, is waiting for us to finish and then we can start. Yes, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Prof. Kawawa, I think we have learned a lot, and I think the participant will agree with me. If you still want to be with us, you can still stay online. But if you have other engagement, you are also free to leave. And I'll also allow the next speaker, Rebecca. I think I've made you a presenter already. You'll be able to share your presentation. So thank you very much, Professor Kawawa, for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll stick around briefly, then I might leave shortly.
Okay. All right. No problem. Rebecca, can we
Yes,
test your
I'm
sound
here.
system? You are there?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
here. You can hear me?
Are you able to present? Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Are you able to present now? I've made you a
I'm
presenter.
trying. I'm trying.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's see.
Not really working. Let me see.
It's not working.
That's what the problem is. I've got my presentation open. I want to share, and nothing happens when I click on sharing.
Mm.
I'm sorry, it's not working. I don't know why.
Working.
It's not working. I can, if I put on share, if I choose and put sharing, it doesn't share anything. No. It's, I think, maybe now you see something. Tell me if you see something.
Yes, something is coming.
Something is
Yes,
coming.
yes,
Perfect.
yes.
So it's a long way from Germany to Namibia. So maybe it takes some
It's
time.
taking time, but yeah, finally
Yeah.
it's here. Okay. No, thank you
Okay.
so much for joining us this morning. I think I'll not waste a lot of your time since we have taken already 10 minutes. We'll allow you to introduce yourself as you start your presentation. So we have up to 11 o'clock. That's your time slot. How you use it, it's up to you. So please, you can go ahead with your presentation. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me today, and thank you very much for the interesting information from Dr. Kawawa. I've learned a lot too there, so I hope I can contribute as well as he did. For a very short introduction, maybe you read my CV already. My name is Rebecca Freitagli. I'm working here at the German Aerospace Center. DLR is the abbreviation for that one, in an institute called Projektträger, and I'm a senior scientific advisor and also head of the division Strategic Communication and Knowledge Transfer here at the international office. And one of the projects I'm heading is the Research in Germany initiative, which is an initiative to inform researchers all over the world who are interested to research and work in Germany or with Germany about their opportunities. And I hope that I can make some of you big fans of Germany through my presentation and give you some ideas how to get funding, where to work, and all these kind of things, which might be interesting for you. To me personally, I'm an expert in intercultural and strategic communication. I've been working in this field for more than 15 years. I've been working in different fields like research innovation cooperation, space technology, something which is getting more prominent right now, urbanization and smart cities, something I worked on, and also on environmental and climate protection, different projects. I also had a project in Namibia a long time ago. It was about the sustainable urban transport planning in Windhoek, and very interesting to work with colleagues there. I had different employers, which you might find in the presentation also in the research and international cooperation field, which is Fraunhofer, which some of you might know, GIZ, the German okay, now it's broken. English is broken. Sorry. Development Agency, Helmholtz Association, and these, and currently at the German Aerospace Centers. And the clients I'm used to work with are normally public institutions like the federal ministries for economics, for housing, for education and research. These are the ones we are working for. Also the DAD, for example, which an institution which you also get to know through the presentation. And what I'm trying to convey to you in these 45 minutes is an idea: how is the German research landscape structured? How does it work? What are the different players? What do they do? And what might be interesting for me? Then, of course, what are interesting funding options for me if I want to work or do research in Germany? And lastly, a short part about living in Germany, what might be interesting for you to know before you decide to come to Germany. And of course, a lot of links and information where you get more information about institutions, job opportunities, and everything. So I hope it will be interesting to you. It may be not as concrete as Dr. Kawava's input, but you get a lot of links and information on how to get more information and where to get it. Some facts and figures about Germany. We have about 1,100 publicly funded research institutions here in Germany, quite a
Sorry,
lot.
Rebecca, can you put it in a slideshow, your presentation? It's not in a slideshow.
Oh, for me it is. It's not?
It is. This side it's not. Or is it my side only? Participants, can you just confirm? Is it in a presentation?
No, it's not in a presentation mode.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not in the presentation mode.
interesting, because for me it is. Maybe if I switch the second, no.
Slides are not moving as well.
Did
Yeah, and the
anything
slides are
change?
not moving. They're not moving at all.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I'm in presentation mode and I can.
Yeah, Rebecca, maybe stop sharing and then share again.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do that. I'm so sorry. And I get in. So. I'm still trying. I haven't given up yet, but so now you see the presentation, not in presentation mode, but with the, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's not in the presentation mode now.
Yes. I try to switch if nothing changes. Now I'm presentation mode. Does anything change?
Something changed, but it doesn't look like presentation mode.
Okay. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. I try.
Bigger.
I'll do it like this, and maybe it's not presentation mode, but I hope you can follow.
Yeah.
Now?
This is better, I think.
It's not perfect, I hope,
Now
but I don't want to lose too much time if it's okay.
Yeah, it's
I hope
okay.
everyone can read it. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. The facts and figures, as I just said, you can read them here. I'm not going to do with them. We have a lot of expenditure. It's here it says 113 billion euros a year. Last year was actually 120 billion euros a year, and it's becoming more and more. And at the moment, our new government and coalition is formed, and they also want to spend more money on research because this is very, very important here in Germany. We have about 750,000 staff in research and R&D here in Germany, but we are always open for more bright heads here, so don't worry, they're not enough yet. And we have a lot of international cooperation, like more than 35,000 university collaborations with more than 165 countries. So Germany is very, very internationally interested in cooperations, and of course we're also interested to cooperate with bright people from all over the world. That's expenditure doubled in the last 10 years, which shows how important this topic is for Germany. And we also know that there are many intelligent, bright people out there who maybe want to come to Germany. So there's a lot of funding, which I talk about later. What is interesting is who does all this research funding. It's only about 15% are coming from the state directly. About 18% are funded from higher education institutions like universities and research institutions. And about 2/3 of the spending on research and innovation in Germany comes from businesses and industry. Which is really important because this is also a very interesting part where you could work as postdocs. And it's also very interesting to know that these businesses are not just the huge names, like Volkswagen or Bosch or anything, but also many, many, many small and medium-sized companies who are doing high-level research, who are world leaders here in Germany. They have about 20 or 30 people working there, but they are top-notch. So if you're looking for a job in Germany, don't just look at the big names, also see who is maybe a leading figure in field here in Germany. The company can be really small and really out in a small village somewhere, and it's not always the big ones. Who are the pillars of the German research sector? I said already, the higher education institutions are one sector. The other is the non-university research institutes, which are very, very important here in Germany. You probably heard of some of them already. And of course, the companies and the industrial research. These are the three pillars of research in Germany, and they all offer opportunities for postdocs to work here in Germany. How about the international of German universities? We are getting more and more international. As you can see, the part of international researchers in Germany doubled at universities in the last 10 years. I'm pretty sure there was a short break here due to COVID, but now it's rising again, and German universities are more and more open to international researchers, and they're more and more open to international students. Also, more and more courses are taught in English or programs, so that more people can come to Germany and enjoy it, research innovation here. As I said, at the academic level, there are about 60,000 international researchers in Germany. At the research institutions, about 16,000, and we have about 30,000 guest researchers here. But these don't include the R&D personnel in companies. And as I said, since 2/3 of the research funding come from companies, there are many, many more researchers, international researchers working in international companies in R&D. So that's many, many more here. How about the research institutions? This is maybe just to give you an idea how the research landscape in Germany works. You have, of course, on this side, the basic research, which is very, very strong here in Germany, Germany is also quite famous for. And you have the applied research. And then on the other scale, you've got the public funded research and you've got the private funded research. And I'll just give you an idea what kind of institutions are working in what field, because maybe you're someone who wants to be a professor, who wants to go into basic research, or you're someone who's more interested in application of your research. So there are different institutions who might be very interesting to you, and to give you a short overview which ones those might be. Higher education, of course, we have 430 universities here in Germany and other higher education institutions. 160 of these can confer doctorates, which is not relevant for you because you are on your way on your PhD right now. And we have nearly 50,000 international doctoral students here in Germany already, and other international academics. And Germany also has an excellent strategy, which is funding excellent research in different excellent clusters. For example, Bonn, where I'm living, the University of Bonn has 6 or 7 excellence clusters, very highly successful there, where they tried to have really like world-renowned research in specialized fields, and they get a lot of funding, and they are especially open for international researchers also because they want to be the best in the world, and so you have to work with the world. The universities, they can confer doctorates. I think this is probably the same in Namibia. You have research and teaching in one institution, a strong research part also. We have very highly internationally ranked universities in Germany and about 70% international students and researchers. What's also very interesting are the universities of applied sciences. They are getting more and more important in Germany right now because they apply the knowledge and make innovations out of it, make money out of it, of course. And they are growing very fast in Germany, and they are also growing more and more international offices, international centers, because they're interested in international researchers, teachers, staff who wants to work there, and they are very open and growing right now. So if you're more into applied research, you can have a look at those University of Applied Sciences. Then we have non-university research institutions I mentioned before. These are the one in the red circles: Fraunhofer, Leibniz, Helmholtz, and Max Planck. You maybe heard those names already. They are called the Big Four in Germany. And as you can see, they are on different parts of the scale. Max Planck is classical basic research. Helmholtz Association is on the verge between basic research and applied research. Fraunhofer is very strong in the part of applied research, and Leibniz Association is more in the basic research, and they are more publicly private funding half and half. Fraunhofer Gesellschaft, for example, is very much private funded also. So these are the big four. They have a lot of staff, as you can see, a very high budget and a lot of different research institutions. So when we say Fraunhofer Gesellschaft, it's not just one institution, it's 76 different independent institutes where you can also apply to. Same with Max Planck and Leibniz. Is there a question? I hear something. Okay. Said Max Planck is very strong in basic research, and what you can see here, 56% of their personnel are international researchers. So more than half of the research at the Max Planck Gesellschaft are not from Germany. Many institution heads are not from Germany, so they're extremely open for international students. They are in the basic field, as I said before, and all our Nobel laureates from Germany come from Max Planck Institutes often. The Helmholtz Association is the biggest association when it comes to funding, and they also have a lot of international guest researchers. They are more interested in solving the grand challenges of society. They have different research fields, mostly in the field of natural science, biology, and medicine, and they are also famous for, they have all the big equipment and infrastructure. So if you are interested to work with huge infrastructure, in technology, they are the ones you could work with, because they have, for example, our research icebreaker Polarstern. These boats and ships are operated by the Helmholtz Association, or for example, the free electron laser in Hamburg. These big infrastructure projects are mostly handled by Helmholtz Association. DLR, the German Aerospace Base, is also part of the Helmholtz Association, one of the centers there. Leibniz Institute is maybe not that interesting for you. They are more in the socially, they're more investigating the social, economically, and ecological issues, but also they try to bridge the part between technology and society. So if you are not, as Dr. Kawara said, you can also do some consulting work. You are maybe technical expert, but you can also contribute to questions of social impact of technologies, for example. So Leibniz is also interesting for you. And Fraunhofer Gesellschaft, the one I've also worked for, they are very interested in applied research. They have also international affiliations and research centers abroad, and they have like the high potential topics like bioeconomic, digital health, AI, quantum computing. They are all their research there, and they have a lot of contract research for business and industry, but also for the government, and they are very highly innovative and important for Germany. So then we have other non-user research institutions, smaller ones, which are, for example, federal research institutions. A lot of, Germany is comprised of 16 federal states, and these federal states also have smaller research institutions and academic sciences and for humanities. Most known in Germany is this Robert Koch Institute. You might heard of it. They are the ones who were most relevant during the COVID pandemic here in Germany. They were working with the government very closely, advised them every day, new numbers and everything. That's what they did, for example. Or we have this Federal Institute for Materials Research and Testing, which is also a lot of fun because they test materials. So how good is, for example, cars, or they like to crash cars to see how safe they are and these kind of things. So it's also possible to work there. And last but not least, of course, we have companies, industrial research. They are all privately funded, and they are also mostly interested in applied research. As I said, 2/3 of research funding comes from them, and they often work in clusters. So you have like the Silicon Valley, you probably know, it's also a big cluster in Germany. You also have different clusters where these companies and universities try to work together to foster innovation. And here you can see very shortly what are the sectors which are most innovative here in Germany, which make the most money out of its pharmaceuticals is very strong in Germany, but also electronics, automotive engineering, of course, very traditional industry, information and computer technology, and then of course everything having to do with engineering and biotech. And when we talk about the big German companies, I think most of them you will know, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Siemens, etc. They are the big players, but as I said, keep in mind there are a lot of small players here in Germany who are highly relevant, highly innovative, and the biggest part of innovation in Germany is actually made at these small companies, not just the big ones. Of course, we have a lot of startups and spin-offs here in Germany also. They have about like maybe 10 billion in venture capital every year. We have more than 500,000 startups here in Germany. They are very open to international researchers and individuals who want to try their luck there. Yeah, just see what might fit you. The clusters already said, these are the biggest clusters in Germany, where different companies and universities and research institutes are clustered in one area and working on topic. For example, here in Nuremberg-Erlangen is the big medical valley cluster. In Mannheim, Heidelberg is a big AI cluster. And there, if you work in a cluster, it's very good because you can easily switch between company research and university research. It's more open. And one cluster which is highly famous in Germany now is the cluster for individualized immune intervention, C13, because this is the cluster that worked on the COVID vaccine successfully, and so they are well known right now. And as you can see, they are made of largely of small and medium-sized companies, not of the big ones. There are some large companies, but only half, some universities, and also non-university research institutions, and they all work together on one topic to bring it forward. You see, these are the different funding institutions that I'm just very shortly talk about those ones. We have the Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft, the German Research Associations. They are the biggest ones. They have about 3.9 billion in funding. They can give away every year. And what's very important, they are self-governing. So these funding institutions are not governed by our government. The government cannot tell them whom to give their funding to. They get funding from the government, but they can freely decide whom to give the funding to. So they're self-governed, they're independent. And they are focused on project funding for postdocs. So if you have an interesting project, a big one, then you can apply there. I give you more information on funding projects later. Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, you might heard of this one. It's a smaller one, and it's because it's more focused on person-centered funding and to help individual researchers with their research, with connecting with all the world. And they are famous for having a very, very great network all over Germany and all over the world with a lot of foreign researchers. So this is their idea of funding. And then we have very classical, the German Academic Exchange, same as DAAD, you might heard of them. They fund most scholars here in Germany, international scholars, and also German scholars who go out to the world every year. And we have them for 100 years in Germany right now. They have a big birthday this year, and they just want to connect Germany with the world and the world with Germany. And they have very, very many different kinds of funding opportunities that you can check out. Now, for the funding opportunities for you as postdocs, you have, of course, there are different ways to fund your stay here in Germany. You can get a position as a research association associate, as a young research group leader, as a junior professor. Here in Germany, this is one option. After doing something, sorry. You can have a guest stay of less than a year. Of course, you can stay long-term in Germany for a year or longer. And there are different types of funding. You can get scholarships, you can get an employment contract, of course, or you can get a project funding. These are the main different funding options that are there. And now I'm going to show you several funding funding projects, but I'm not going to get into detail of all of those. They are all different in their own way, but because you will get the presentation afterwards, and you can follow all those links and inform yourself which one might be the most interesting to you. They're the funding institutions, of course, I told before, Alexander von Humboldt, DAAD, and DFG, and the research institutions who perform the strongest are Fraunhofer, Helmholtz, Leibniz, and Max Planck, next to the universities, of course. And then we have public-private foundations a lot. The Thyssen-Stiftung, ThyssenKrupp is a very big company in Germany. The Stifterverband, which is a association of different companies who do funding, and the Volkswagen Stiftung is also a very big funding institution here in Germany. This is for you for reading later, so you get an overview who is, what program is funding what and whom and how long. This you can check out later. And as I see, there's the one possibility to work as a postdoctoral researcher. Dr. Kawabe said here how important it is to get some research experience after getting your PhD as a postdoc. And then you have different research grants from DAAD and DFG. Also, the German Aerospace Center has a research fellowship with the DAAD together. There are Humboldt Research Fellowships and very different fellowships where you can get a position as a postdoctoral researcher here in Germany. You can be heading a junior research group. There are different programs that help you to become the head of a junior research group and get not only research experience, but also very important management experience, so that you're not only a researcher who's living in his or her own world, but also someone who knows how the working environment works, how to get innovation, how to get things done, how to be a leader, how to lead your group, how to manage expenses, all these kind of things, which also very important in your career as a researcher. There are different programs for that. And then there's also funding for so-called junior professorships. This is a new position that was established in Germany around like 10 years ago, where before you were a PhD, and then you did some postdoctoral research, and then you might be able to become a professor. Junior professor is a step between those, where you kind of learn how to be a professor also, but you're not having a full professorship at university, but you are a junior professor. But it's very nice because in your passport, in your German passport, it says professor and it doesn't say junior professor. So it's very nice for the title, but it's just a limited term for up to 6 years. And then you have to get a professorship, a real one, or you will lose that status. This is one of those. Just some examples. I think I have 20 here, but I'm not talking about all of those. Of course, there's the typical bilateral exchange of academics. That's what the DAAD mostly does. They are for research and study visits, often bilateral exchange. If the Namibian university or institution has a partner in Germany, they help with funding those. And it's for postdocs and for early career researchers and established researchers. You apply and you can stay from 1 week to 3 months, whatever is relevant for your project. And you can get up to 2,250 euros a month as for funding. And if you want to have more information, you can go to the funding guide of the DAAD. There you get a very good overview of the different funding types for the different fields and for your ideas. Then, as I said, we have the research fellowships with the DAAD and the German Aerospace Center here. Colleagues of me are doing. They are directed at research and doctorates, or there is as PhD students and postdocs also. It's about research and doctorates in space, aeronautics, energy, and transportation research, mostly at one of the different DLR institutes, and they're scattered all here over Germany. And it's not just space technology and aeronautics, is also about infrastructure. And water is also very important infrastructure, so also institutions working on that. So every year, DAAD and DLR together decide what kind of research they want to do, and then DID is funding it, and the DLR is opening positions for international researchers to come here for up to 2 years for early career researchers who can work here in research. It's also, as you can see, oh, sorry, no, sorry. It's also about 1,800, 2,800 euros a month you get in funding and additional allowances, so you can live here comfortably. I come to the cost of living in Germany later on. Fraunhofer track. This is also very interesting. This is a program where you can establish your own research group at a Fraunhofer institution. For example, if you have a postdoc, you have a very good idea of how you want to turn a research into innovation, into an application, then you can apply as to the head of the institute, of the Fraunhofer Institute, and convince him or her about your idea. And then they will, together with you, apply for this grant. And you have a duration of, you can stay in Germany and establish your group in a time span of 5 years. You get funding of up to 2.5 million for those 5 years. But you have to manage this very well, because you have to finance not only your team and all the material and everything you need, but you also have to finance your own position with this money. They are highly sought after, these positions, but they're also something where you really learn a lot. And since I've worked at Fraunhofer, I can tell you that the support system there is very good. And the heads of the research institutions, of the Fraunhofer institutes, that's what Dr. Kawawa also said, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to send an email to one of those institution heads and say, hey, professor, I have a very cool idea, and tell him or her about it and convince her about it. And then if they are convinced, they will try to get this funding with you, and they will help you to establish this group. And if after those 5 years you manage to get this group self-sustaining, then you've got a institute, your own institute or your own division in this institute for however you can sustain yourself with it. It's very interesting, and it's also just go there and tell them your idea and convince them, and they will listen. It's not that they are like high up there and don't want to hear about individuals. They're very interested if you have a good idea. So I can only encourage you to try that. What else do we have? Yeah, the DFG, the Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft Research Association, they also help with initiating international collaboration. So if you say, I have a good partner in Germany and I need some funding to build up a collaboration, they give you a grant for this initial collaboration, so you can prepare for a concrete joint project, so that you can have trips visiting each other, discussing what you want to do, and build quasi your idea and your project, and within 12 months. And what you get with this funding is you get daily or monthly allowances. It depends on how long you are staying in the partner country and what you need, but they help you to build this initial collaboration, because often you have a good idea, but you don't have any money to get into contact and get into communication with others. Yes, we have those. Of course, Humboldt Research Fellowships, they are also highly sought after. They are a long-term research project. If you have a long-term research project that you want to pursue with an academic host here in Germany, they can apply for the Humboldt Research Fellowship and can stay here for up to 2 years also, and get the allowances, and you can work in a research project here in Germany. And of course, when I say you can apply, when the institution in Germany is interested in working with you, they will of course also help you with the application, so you're not alone in this. Yeah, and then of course, which is also a very interesting, if you are interested in basic research, as I said, there's you can be an international visiting researcher at the Max Planck Institute. You can do your own independent research at the Max Planck Institute as a postdoc, and you can stay also for up to 2 years. And this is very important recruiting tool for Max Planck Institute. This is how many of the institute heads, international institute heads, started out at Max Planck. Yeah, these are those. And this is one special program I want to mention because it's targeted for female early career scientists and researchers who are outstanding in their qualifications and who want to establish their own research group at one of the Max Planck institutions. This is interesting also because you get a stay duration for up to 6 years to establish your own group, and you get a full work contract and funding for your research. So this is very interesting, and it's explicitly targeted for female researchers, which I think is also very nice, of course. Yeah. And now we talked about a lot of German funding institutions who can help you to get funding for use in Germany. But of course, Germany is part of the EU, and there are also European funding projects like the I'm not speaking Polish, Marie Curie European Fellowship, and it's for those of you who want to do a research project at a host institution, not only in Germany, but you can also do it as another EU member state or a EU associated country. It's for postdocs, it's for 2 years, and you also get very high funding for this one. The interesting thing is you don't have to do it in Germany. You can also go to another EU member state with this fellowship funding. Research grants and stuff. So no, this, as I said, you will get this presentation later on, and you can click yourself through all the information, all the different projects. So I don't think it's reasonable for me to talk about each and every one of them, and I don't know each and every one of them in detail, I have to admit. So where do you get more information than this one? There's a brochure you can download about funding your research in Germany, where all this information is in again, and all the overviews, what you need to do. And of course, you can go to our portal, which is called researchingermany.org, and there you get all the information about funding for your goal as a postdoc. This was the funding part, and now I will shortly talk about some aspects about living in Germany, and I hope then maybe we have some minutes for some questions. Yeah, how do you get entry and residence in Germany? It's if you are here, if you are a researcher or a highly qualified professional coming to Germany from abroad, and you get a visa. Here you need a visa, of course. You need a resident permit after your arrival, and you need a letter of admission from university, for example, and a proof of funding. This is also very important. If you don't have a working contract at an institution, you need a proof of funding. So this is why I talked about all these funding projects, programs before, because if you have proof from them that your research stay of 1, 2, or 3 years is funded, then you can get this. You can get a resident permit, or as I said, or you have an employment contract. These are the two. You need one of those two things to ensure a visa and a residence permit here in Germany. And if you want to get a blue card, this is more for higher qualification employees. You need also an employment contract, and you need a minimum income. This is very important, that you're not getting it just for the research, but you have to show that you can sustain yourself or your family, whoever is living here. Yeah. Why are you getting? So, okay, finances, always a big topic here in Germany. You can see here, what does a person earn? If you just a small overview, if you're a postdoc researcher, you earn about 4,700 to 5,000 euros per month, and if you're head of a junior research group, it's definitely more. And you have the junior professor, which is called a W1 professorship. It's the system in Germany. You have assistant professor, which is W2 professorship, and the full professorship, a W3 professorship, is of course the highest paying. And on the right-hand side, you see what living in Germany costs. That of course depends on where you're living. For example, if you live in a big city like Munich or Cologne or Berlin, it's very, very high. If you're living more in the countryside, working for a small or medium-sized company, it can be considerably lower. But what I also want you to take into consideration is, okay, these are the living expenses for a month, but the salary here is your gross salary. So it's before taxes. And Germany is very fond of the taxes, and they can be very high. So for example, if you're single, you don't have a family, you don't have children, you live alone, you're in the highest tax brackets, this tax percentage can get up to more than 40%, not 14, 40%. So you can do the math of how much money you can keep at the end of the month after paying taxes. So it looks a lot here in comparison to the cost of living, but this is the gross salary and not the net salary. So if you're looking at your employment contract and you
Hello, Rebecca, we have lost you. Oh, it looks like we have lost our presenter. Let's give her time maybe to rejoin. I can't see her.
I was kicked out. I don't know why. Hello?
Okay, no, it's good to see you back.
Yeah, I have to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one works now. So I don't know, Teams does not like me. So
Yeah. Okay.
I was talking about the finances. Now I'm talking about Social Security, very important. But this is one of the reasons because our taxes are so high, because we have a very strong Social Security system. So if you're working or get funding here, you have health insurance, you have long-term care insurance, you have accident insurance, pension insurance if you're planning on staying in Germany for your life, and you also get unemployment insurance, which means that in Germany, if you work for at least a year and you get unemployed, then you get 60% of your salary for the next year in unemployment payments, and so you have enough time to look for a new job and you don't immediately lose all your money, which is very nice. Yeah, this is Social Security. Family is a big topic. Of course, you are all going to make your PhDs. We are not, I think, 20 anymore. And you maybe have husbands or wives or children already. And if you're going to stay in Germany for a longer time, this will be a very important topic. Can my family come with me? What about their opportunities there? And yes, if you have a residence and work permit here in Germany, you are allowed to take your family with you. Your family members will also get work permits to do their work here in Germany. And if they are also the same as you, are free to move in all the European area and Switzerland, you can move around here without any passport. And of course, what's very interesting is many research institutions today, they have dual career service for couples where both of them are researchers and they want to do their research, they want to develop themselves. Then they also help not only the researcher who's working with them, but also the spouse to find employment, to find interesting projects. When you come with your family, you get child benefit here in Germany on a monthly basis. If you give birth here in Germany, you get parental leave of up to 14 months. Paid parental leave, unpaid parental leave is up to 3 years. What does it mean? This means if you give birth to a child, you can stay with the child at home for 3 years. For the first 14 months, you get paid. Also, afterwards, you won't get paid, but you can come back within those 3 years to your old job. and it's guaranteed that you can come back to it, which is also very highly secure. And you also get this, what is called the parental allowance for this 14 months. And also, if you have children here, you are entitled to childcare starting at the age of 1. You're entitled to get them to the kindergarten or something. They, of course, have to attend school. These public schools are free here in Germany. And many of those schools nowadays, they offer full-time childcare also in the afternoon. And in the big cities, of course, we have a lot of international schools also who do teaching in English, in French, in Chinese these days. So it's also possible depending on where you are, of course. Living in Germany, this is maybe very shortly. In Germany, you mostly rent when you live here, especially if you live here for a shorter amount of time. And rents are really, really high. It's probably the most important expense factor for in your month. The diagram said about up to 1,000 euros for a nice flat, but it can be more. For example, here in Bonn, if you have a nice flat in the city center with 1 or 2 children, it can go up to 2,000, 2,500 euros per month. So really have a look for that. As soon as you know you're coming to Germany, start looking for a flat, ask your institution or your employer where working to help you with that, because connections are very important here sometimes, so they know how to get you in contact with possible landlords or landladies. And what's also interesting is that many flats, bigger flats, are not furnished. So you have to buy or bring your own furniture. If you only have a small apartment, especially in bigger cities, they are often furnished now because, for example, Bonn is highly international. We have a lot of visiting researchers and workers here, and the housing market is used to it. So we have a lot of furnished apartments, but take a close look at the ad. Is it furnished or unfurnished? It's a big difference. And what's also very important is you have a net rent. It's called Kaltmiete. It's cold rent in German, and you have the warm rent, and the net rent might be very low or seem low, but then you have to consider the cost of water, of electricity, of heating, and also, so most ads will say, okay, our net rent is, for example, 800, but there will be additional cost of up to 300 to 400 euros. So your whole rent will be around 1,200. You have to keep that in mind if you check information on that one. Yeah, living in Germany, also interesting. We are speaking language right now, and of course, in research institutions and universities here in Germany, English will be fine in the working environment. This everyone speaks good English, and you will be very fine working here. Also in daily life, more and more people are speaking English. You normally, you especially in a big city, it won't be any problem, the supermarket or anywhere. But of course, especially if you want to stay in Germany longer, you want to enjoy the culture, you want to understand the people, not only their language, but also the culture, it's always good to learn the language, to get a feel of the culture also, and to participate in the everyday life. Of course, the Goethe Institute is always a good address if you want to start learning in German. They also have online courses for the Deutsche Welle. So there are many different ways to learn German. You don't have to, mostly if you're working as a researcher in Germany, but as soon as you live in smaller villages, smaller towns, it might be very helpful for you to learn some basic German. Genau. Mobility is, yeah, we have very good infrastructure here in Germany. We have very well developed public transport systems with buses, trams, trains. You can go anywhere in Germany with public transport. We have a so-called Deutschland ticket, a Germany ticket, which allows you to use the regional transport in all over Germany for 60 euros per month. So you can use every regional transportation, no matter where in Germany. And of course, we have a lot of cycling. I don't know if the situation is in Namibia, but in Germany, cycling is very, very, everyone loves cycling, and we have very big cycling path, and it's very normal to come to your job with a bicycle. For example, I go to my job every morning on a bicycle, drive half an hour, and then I come here, and then I can take a shower here, change, and go to work. And in the evening, I go back. This is very normal here in Germany, in big cities, especially in the research area. And also car sharing is, if you don't want to buy your own car, car sharing is always available in bigger cities. So I think oh, sorry. Yeah, well, I think I'm on point, 11 minutes. So this is just some more slides. You can check yourself for more information. As well, go to researchingermany.org. There you will get all the information about your stay. You can check here. It's very small now, but you see what is your goal. If you click on postdoc, you will get all the information for postdocs, how funding works, what postdoc institutions are there, to job portals that offer jobs for postdocs. We have different brochures on different research fields here in Germany that you can have a look at digitally. And of course, here are some links also you can use for your research, different databases where you can find jobs and information. And yeah, thank you very much. And if you have any more questions, maybe you have 1 or 2 minutes. Otherwise, you can send me an email to Rebecca Freitag-Lier or to my colleagues at the DAAD, to Research in Germany. They will answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for that wonderful presentation. I think I like the way you built on Prof. Kawawa's presentation. You zoomed in actually to Germany to provide us with all the opportunities that we can find. The funding, I think in most cases, funding is a problem, but I think now we have resources where we can look at for funding and for job opportunities. I'm sure our participants are happy, and we'll just request that you share the presentation and then we can share with our participants. So I'll open up for questions, 10 minutes, and then we start with the next presentation. So if there's anyone with a question for Rebecca, please come through. Any clarification? I see Catherine's hand. Catherine, please come through.
Thank you, Dr. Mabuku. Morning, Ms. Rebecca, Ms. Dr. Rebecca. I have a question regarding grant application. Specifically, I wanted to hear from your experience, what are the pitfalls that we can avoid as new researchers when applying for grants from Germany? Yeah.
I think what's most important, I haven't applied for a grant for myself because I'm not a doctor. But what's always generally important in Germany is you need to have very clear focus of what you want to do, what you want to achieve. So not just, oh, I'm interested in this kind of research or anything. You have to have a very clear focus of what you want to do, a very clear idea. If you are interested in working with partners, it's good that you have a very good idea who's of the research landscape in your field in Germany already. Show them that you did your homework, that you know who's there, that you know who you want to talk to, that you have a clear path of, for example, if you apply for a 2-year grant, tell them, okay, 2 years, during those 2 years in Germany, I want to achieve this and that, and this is how I want to do it. So they know that you have a plan, they know that you have a goal, that you have an initiative. That's what Dr. Kwawe said. You need to have some drive, some initiative. You have to be self-organized, and you have to show them that. So you have to show them that you have, of course, that you're an excellent researcher. That's the first thing always, but also that you know where you want to go, what you want to achieve, that you are willing to go the way, and that you're not just a researcher, that you're also willing to be a leader, you're willing to manage projects, that you're not living in your ivory tower, but that you're living in the real world, so that you know what you want to do with your research. I think that's always the most important thing. And of course, you need the letters of recommendations, you need the networks. Also, again, you need networks with people who back up your application. This, I think, is the most important thing in Germany, again, for research grants, but also if you apply at a job at a company. That's what people want to see. I hope that helps.
Okay, Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, I can see Mukulu. Please come through with your question.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I believe we are fine. Or is it afternoon or morning, actually? Yeah, I joined this group a bit late. I just wanted to find out this funding. Is it only for research purposes in a space of academic, or for argument's sake, if you have a business idea that you want to implement in Namibia or so? So is it possible for us to be given a green light when it comes to funding? That's what I just want to find out, if it's possible to do so.
Okay, just let me be clear. You're asking if you want to have a business idea to start a business in Namibia, and if there is funding for that from Germany.
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
That's what I.
Yeah. No, not normally not. No, there's funding maybe if you want to work together with a German company or German research institutions. But then you might the funding institutions I talked about might not be the right ones for you. You can always talk to the AHK. It's the that's the how are they called? The Chamber of Commerce, the International Chamber of Commerce, the German Chamber of Commerce. They also have international representations everywhere. And if you are interested in funding in a business sense, then you need to ask them. They are the experts for this. But of course, it has to be some touch point with Germany or some cooperation with Germany. Otherwise, there is no reason for funding normally.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, any other question? We have 4 minutes. So if there's no question, Rebecca, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Now I would like to call Ms. Mukasa Marjorie, our HR or human resource practitioner, who will take us through some tips on how we can apply for this position. I think we have seen different opportunities out there. How do we go about, applying for those opportunities so that we sell ourselves? So, good morning, Ms. Mukasa. Are you there with us?
I'm here. Good morning, Dr. Mavuko, and thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm giving you your flow. We'll start now until 12 o'clock. It's your time. You do as you wish. I'm just here to moderate. So, yeah, you can present. I don't know if you have the presentation rights. Are you able to
Yes.
share? Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, no, you can go ahead.
All right, just verify for me if you are able to see my presentation.
Yes, we are able to see. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mavuku and team. I really appreciate this opportunity and the way that you've just lined up the speakers, because based off the presentation from Rebecca, I missed the first presentation. I just joined in at very end. However, I managed to go through the entire presentation with Rebecca. So there were many opportunities that Rebecca took us through. So basically what I'm going to be doing this morning is quite easy, I would say, because I'm now just taking you to the doorstep of those opportunities that Rebecca took us through. So my presentation this morning is going to cover on how you basically the essential career development strategies. This is now geared towards the PhD students on CV writing, ATS compatibility, professional communication, cover letters, interview preparation, and emotional intelligence. So basically, that's what I'll be covering in the presentation. I won't be able to see any hands, so I would ideally, the questions can be at the end of the presentation. So I've covered through that. So this presentation is basically tailored for PhD students, which are preparing for both academic and non-academic careers. It covers everything from writing applicant tracking system compatible CVs, emails, cover letter, etiquette, preparing for interviews, harnessing emotional intelligence in order to be able to stand out in professional settings. This is due to the fact that in today's increasingly competitive job market, securing a role requires more than a strong CV. and the standard cover letter, because more employers, including ourselves, which is now the Namibia University of Science and Technology, we are utilizing softwares which are called applicant tracking systems that manage the recruitment process. So it is essential that your application documents are not only compelling to the human readers, but are also optimized for automated systems. So this ATS, what do you need to know about this ATS? As indicated already, this is an applicant tracking system. It's basically a recruitment software which is used by the employers to screen and rank applications. So it basically scans your CV, it scans your cover letter for keywords, for skills, for qualifications, which are based on the job description or basically the job advert. So only the most relevant and the well-structured applications proceed to the next stage, whereby then you get to be reviewed by a human recruiter. So creating an ATS-friendly application requires keyword optimization. You need to be clear in your formatting. You need to have proper file types, because at times you find that you have saved your documents as Word, and then when you put them on the system, they get distorted, and then it limits your chances of basically scoring high to be able to get to that human factor intervention. So always customize your CV and your cover letters for each role. Use structured layouts with standard headings, and always quantify your achievements. But before you do any submissions, you should always proofread to ensure that you are avoiding any errors that could lower your ATS score. So what do we utilize normally when we apply, whether it's a research position, whether it's a teaching position, whether it's an industry position? We utilize our CV and our cover letters. So what I would like you to do is to think of your CV and your cover letter as a persuasive argument. Because imagine there's a lot of people who see this opportunity, they are all interested. So everybody's argument can stand the test of time, if I may say it that way. So you need to ensure that your argument is so persuasive in such a way that you will be selected from the entire pool that's going to respond to that opportunity. So think of it as your thesis. I think, let's put it that way. Take it as your thesis. Your CV and your cover letter, take it as your thesis, because you are qualified for the job. You are excited about the job in question. So every detail that you include should reinforce that statement. Because I think what you should always think about is you are not the only one who is excited about that role. You are not the only one who is qualified for that role. So you need to stand out from the rest. So you should focus on the role. I think that's one of the other issues that we always mix up. Well, I'm applying for a position at the Namibia University of Science and Technology as an example, and this position is in the Human Capital Department. I'll use my own department because it will make it much more easier for me to explain to you. I'm applying for a Human Capital Business Partner role. So yes, I'm applying at NAST. However, I need to be specific. I must show that interest and that enthusiasm for the role in itself. The recruiters, yes, will be excited that, okay, you are interested in working for us, but what position is it? So you need to show that eagerness that you want to contribute to the role and not only to the entire organization. So on your CV and your cover letter, very important, you demonstrate your skills and experience that directly match the job requirements. The relevance, you need to ensure that you tailor every element to highlight the connection between your background and the role. So having a general CV, for example, that you utilize to forward to each and every opportunity that comes through is not something that I would recommend. You can have it, however, whenever you have an opportunity that has been advertised, you need to tailor that specific CV of yours towards that specific opportunity that you're applying for. So the last thing that I have on this one is that you need to always ensure that you show that genuine interest for the position and how you will be able to contribute value to the role in itself. So I usually want to differentiate between a CV and a resume, because now you're PhD students, you have different aspirations. Some of you want to continue in academia, either in teaching, either going through for research, because I had a few who were now asking about the research opportunities. Others would like to go in industry so that they can be able to practice. So what I always like to say with regards to the CVs is that I differentiate between a CV and a resume, in the sense that a resume is much more industry focused, and then a CV is much more academic focused. So understanding this fundamental difference will assist you when you're transitioning, especially between the sectors, because each document serves a different purpose and follows distinct conversions. For industry positions, for example, you focus on translating your academic experience into relevant skills. So if you're applying, for example, for a research position, you will detail your experience with your qualitative methods, with the data analytics or analysis tools that you've utilized, the type of research that you've undertaken, because this is a research position. However, if you're applying for an industry position, then you will now be translating this into the relevant skills. So perhaps you have conducted certain type of research. How do you then utilize this in industry? Because in industry, it will not be much more focused on the research aspect as opposed to the practical elements. So that is where now I would like for you to also to distinguish this. You'll find that perhaps nowadays with high unemployment rate, even though your interest is in industry, for example, if an opportunity comes through for academia, you will still take that opportunity. So then ideally, you should have the two separate documents where you have the CV, which is quite detailed, and then you have your resume, which would be quite a short document that you utilize for the industry opportunities. So with this resume, how long should it be, basically? The resume, it basically should be at least 1 to 2 pages. It should focus on your recent and the most relevant experience and the key accomplishments per position that you have held. So you focus on much more on quality and relevance rather than on quantity when it comes to the resumes. You include mainly your recent and the most relevant experience. You'll find that, because I deal with recruitment on a daily basis, you'll find that somebody is applying, say, for example, for an accountant position. And maybe when they completed their high school, they studied nursing, they became a nurse, they worked as a nurse maybe for a year. They decided, okay, this is not for me. They went back, they studied, did accounting, and then now they are looking for an opportunity in accounting. So they include their nursing degree, they include their nursing experience for an accounting job. So this doesn't fit in any way. So that is where now we come in with regards to a resume. Ensure that at least that it's in line with the position. That's why you shorten it. It must be relevant to the experience of the job that is being advertised. Okay, so when is a CV or work sample required? You'll find that for some positions, you require work samples to be included as part of the application. And we've indicated, or we've spoken about this already, where we said for CVs, this will be much more for academic positions. So this is useful for grants. I think Rebecca took us through some of the opportunities that are there with regards to research and grants and so forth. So the academic CV will be very, very much useful when it comes to such opportunities. For speaking engagements, for example, or for research-oriented positions, so you need to ensure that you maintain an updated version, even if you're working in industry. So like I said, always have the two, have the resume and have the CV, so that at least you are ready for any opportunity that might present itself. For some roles, you might be required, especially for research positions, for associate professor positions, you might be required to provide your research samples. So this can be published or unpublished, just depending on the requirements of the position and how they've advertised the position. So ideally, then this is where you must have your work sample. So the work sample, say now for a research job, it will be something that covers the research that you have covered. So again, you need to be specific to the role. So some roles, for example, they will require that you provide insight on or showcase your skills and your abilities. So you can have, a profile that covers this as part also of the entire application. However, it depends, again, on the type of role that you're applying for. So understanding when to provide the different type of application materials is essential for positioning yourself effectively. So when you have, say, the academic CVs, it's valuable, for grants and then for for the resumes, it's valuable for industry. So when submitting, for example, work samples, ensure that they are also clear and it's speaking to what you've contributed, even if it's shared work that you have done. So tailoring your submission to reflect the qualifications relevant to the role. As indicated, you're applying for an accounting position. However, you are submitting your previous qualifications that you had in nursing. That will just throw off the recruiter. It's not a good first impression as somebody who's busy applying for a job. So we'll look at the common mistakes that you need to avoid when you are applying now for roles. So even if you are qualified, you can sometimes sabotage your application by making some mistakes. So you need to understand these pitfalls and how they can significantly improve your chances of advancing to the interview stage. How do we get you to that door that I spoke about? So avoid these common mistakes. Remember that each application should be uniquely crafted for the specific position. Generic applications, as I've indicated, are easily spotted. Many times you find that, especially with the young, fresh graduates, say the honors and the bachelor's degree graduates, they might be in a position of whereby they are applying everywhere for any opportunity. So you receive a CV or a cover letter. However, I'm a recruiter at the Namibia University of Science and Technology, but you find that the CV is addressed to, say, the Ministry of Health, or the CV is addressed to the Government Institution Pension Fund. We get that a lot. So those are type of the mistakes that you really need to do away with. So how do you do away with such type of mistakes? You need to ensure that you submit an academic CV instead of an industry-tailored resume when you are now applying for academic jobs. We go back to that. So different contexts require different formats. So ensure that you are using the appropriate document type. The using of exaggerated or unclear business jargon, that is not, it's a no-go zone. You need to ensure that you are clear, you are straightforward, your language is effective. Avoid using buzzwords. You get words that are now everybody's utilizing, and you want to look. I'm a PhD candidate. I want them to see that I'm a Leonard. I'm Leonard, and so forth. So you start using words that even the reader will not even be able to comprehend. So let's just be clear, straightforward. I'm applying for this position. These are my credentials, and then that's that. Each application should be customized to address the specific requirements of the job. And we need to ensure that at all times we show genuine interest in the role and not the company. Yes, we can show interest about the company. However, what we are looking for now is a specific position. So we must be speaking to the position. So I'll take you through on just how to craft a winning CV. This is now, normally, because now you are PhD students, you want to transition perhaps maybe from academia to industry, or you want to stay in industry. So this requires a tailored CV. So I'll take you through a template and then just guidance on how to design and to highlight your skills and experience that will assist you in showcasing your value to recruiters and hiring managers. So the first part is that your CV should have a professional summary. This is where you showcase your value. So a compelling summary is quite crucial. It highlights your specialization. It highlights your research experience. So on the professional summary, you are to mention the key skills and the abilities that you possess. You need to express your eagerness to apply your expertise in this dynamic setting or towards this role that you're applying for. So the pointers here is that you focus on your achievements, you express your enthusiasm, and then you also need to show your flexibility, because nowadays employers, they want flexible individuals who are able to adapt to the environment or to the circumstances. The next one is your key skills and the tools. This is where you demonstrate your competence. So you need to list all the relevant skills and the tools that you are able to utilize. My apologies. You need to tailor this to the specific role once again. So you include the research, the data analysis, you include the communication skills. You mention the projects that you've worked on. You mention also the soft skills that you possess. So this is now, all the research that you've conducted, your communication skills, you delve into this when you are now demonstrating your competence. Then very important, because nowadays most positions, they will ask for specific education. So you have to highlight your academic credentials. So you will detail your PhD or your bachelor's or your master's degrees, include the university name where you studied, the location and the dates when you completed these qualifications, very important. Mention your thesis title, and then you need to highlight your key achievements and any other impactful work that you might have undertaken during the time that you were busy with your studies. So the next part would be then the professional experience, where you now showcase the practical experience. This is where you describe your roles and your responsibilities. What have you done? Where have you worked? Again, very important, it must be in line with the role that you have applied for or that you are applying for, because it doesn't make sense. I take you back to the nursing qualification and experience. You're applying for accounting, yet you are utilizing this experience and qualification. Very important here is that you need to use action verbs that can be able to highlight your contribution. For example, if you designed you analyzed perhaps a vaccine, for example, on malaria, then you use the verb analyzed a vaccine from cure of malaria and so forth. So using of action verbs is very important because it shows exactly what you did. You need to quantify your achievements where possible and also focus on the relevant experience and the skills that are basically transferable. So for academic positions and especially the research positions, very important, we need to highlight our contribution to research that we have done. This is now the publications and the presentations. So this is where we are demonstrating our expertise. So you list your most relevant publications. In many cases, it has to be peer-reviewed publications and presentations. Here you include your titles, you include your journal names, the conference details that you have. So here you can also provide links, because the employers, they really don't want to be there and now they have to call you or maybe email you and you don't get your emails, then it's difficult to get hold of you. So show that you are quite innovative, provide links so that it can lead the employers then to the full list if needed, especially if you are using the resume as opposed to the CV. And again, you should always focus on quality over quantity. So it must be the peer reviewed. You might have 20 publications as an example. However, if only 10 of those publications are peer reviewed, why list the 20? So let's focus then on the quality. Let's rather only list the 10 that are peer reviewed as opposed to the 20 that are then not peer reviewed. And then apart from your formal qualifications, you might have done some certifications, you might have done some training. These are basically meant to enhance your profile as an individual, as a professional. So you need to include these relevant certifications and training programs. Again, you need to mention the names of these programs, the providers, and the years or the dates when you completed them. This basically shows your commitment to your continuous development or continuous learning. So it also demonstrates your expertise in specific areas. Yes, you might have a bachelor's degree in a specific, say, water engineering, you have a master's in water engineering, and then now you are completing your PhD in water engineering, just as an example. However, beyond that, what else do you have? What have you done in between? So if it's something that you haven't thought about, it's something worth considering, the certifications, because it shows your commitment to that continuous learning. So you list them. You might have done something perhaps in data science, in project management, and so forth. And very important, again, it must be in line with the position, because it defeats the purpose for you to list a certain, I did a certification perhaps in remote sensing for an accounting job. Again, it might not be relevant to that. And then the other part is we need to now understand your credibility, because you've shown us your qualifications, your certifications, your experience, your skills, and so forth. But then who's there to verify what type of a person you are? Who's there to vouch and validate the information that you have provided? So these are your references. state the references that are available. People that you've worked with. It can be your professor, perhaps who are supervising you. It can be your supervisors, people who are your line managers. It can also be colleagues. However, recruiters usually, because especially from my perspective, ideally have your line managers. You find that sometimes people would list references. You list somebody who even works or worked in a different department from you, just because they worked under the same organization as you. So that in itself is a red flag, and it says a lot about the applicant. So rather you list your line managers. If you've listed a reference, give an indication to say that this person was my line manager, indicate the period from when to when and for which position this person was. However, there's also a tendency that we have noted in that applicants will list references. However, they have not spoken to this reference. Some people, maybe you worked with a person 20 years ago, you put them down as a reference, they cannot even remember who you are. So you call, the recruiter calls, and then they would like to find out further information. This person is like, no, I cannot recall who this person is. I cannot, oh, maybe let me go back, I'll come back to you. So it's the credibility is also questioned when it comes to that. So ensure that you speak to your references, ensure that you provide especially the most relevant references, people who can professionally vouch for you. My apologies. Moving on from the CV, I'll take you through the cover letter on how to write a winning cover letter. So while most people tend to take it that cover letters are optional, I would advise that you always, if given the opportunity, always provide a cover letter. Because this is your best opportunity to explain why you are excited about the role and how your background fits. Remember, your CV or your resume will list all this information. However, it will not be directly speaking to the role. So here on the cover letter, this is where you now really provide that link. You are integrating all the experience and the qualifications, the skills, and you are integrating it into why they should consider you. So a compelling cover letter connects the dots, basically for the hiring manager, because there might be certain question marks when the hiring manager or recruiter looks through your CV. There might be certain question marks. However, when you bring in the cover letter, all those question marks or all those gaps are then filled, because it basically provides context that the CV doesn't portray or convey. So in the cover letter, again, avoid vague statements or overuse jargon. So your cover letter must create a clear narrative. Remember, take it again, the CV is there, but then if there are those dots or gaps and so forth, the cover letter you're trying to now clear and create that synergy between the two. So it needs to be very clear, and it must have that clear narrative that links your experience directly to the job requirements. So your cover letter must highlight your interest in that specific role and the company. However, I repeat, it must be much more about the role as opposed to the company. It needs to connect your past experience with the job's requirements. And then this is where you share your insights that aren't easily captured on your CV or your resume. So a compelling cover letter is basically, again, an introduction to a potential employer. You're highlighting your enthusiasm, your skills. The employer, remember, the employer doesn't know you. So this is your first impression. So the cover letter, once again, let that first impression count, let it go far. So the cover letter has to include, once again, your contact information and your salutation. We've received many at times, because we actually just recently introduced the e-recruitment system. Previously, we were receiving hard copy applications. So you'll find that somebody has delivered a CV, compelling CV, and a cover letter, no contact information. How do we get hold of you? We are not able to get hold of you. So very important, always ensure that you do proofreading. So contact information, that's where you include your name, your address, your email, and phone number. Nowadays, you'll find that people, they don't have postal addresses. So it's fine for you just to have the email and the phone number. In case then you're out of the country or something, we are not able to reach you on your phone number, at least we can write you an email. With security reasons, I would not really advise for you to put your residential address on both your CV, resume, or cover letter. Very important, please include the date so that then we can see the relevance of it, because in some instances you might be submitting applications where there is no positions that have been advertised. So then, yeah, include the date. You need to ensure that you are aware who is the recruiter on the other side. Research on who's doing the recruitment. In most cases, if it's advertised positions, they will always indicate who is the person that you can inquire from, or you can just, if there is no contact to say the inquiries person, then you can indicate the highest person in that specific department or organization to whom the application is addressed to. So always personalize the letter by including the, say, dear, you've already researched. If say now, for example, it's Dr. Mavuku, then you'll be there, dear Dr. Mavuku, whenever it is possible. It just gives that human aspect to it. So remember, you are expressing your interest to this position. So you need to state the position, because we don't know. If you are not indicating to say I'm applying, or you're putting it in the subject matter to say it's for this position, we won't know. In most cases, organizations send out quite a number of adverts at the same time. For example, in my space, we send out over 20 adverts at a time. So if you apply and then you have not been specific, then we will not know exactly where to place your application. So once again, highlight your relevant experience. This is now where you briefly summarize your most relevant qualifications, mention your degree and experience in specific areas. In the cover letter, again, you need to showcase your achievements. You don't have to also repeat what you have provided in the CV or the resume, because remember, you are connecting the dots. Whatever is missing in the CV, this is where you're connecting. Perhaps the only thing that you would say here would be, my highest qualification is a PhD in da-da-da, and then that's it. Then you don't have to list all the other items, my master's, honors, bachelor's, because you've already listed that in your CV or your resume. You can also just provide a short summary of your responsibilities or core competencies, depending if you have not listed that already in the CV or the cover letter. You need to highlight your ability to work across disciplines, because nowadays employers, they really want, flexible, agile, individuals who are able to work across departments, because it's much more cost effective, if I may be honest with you on that one. So tailoring to the role when you are applying, you need to talk about, what excites you. Mention what excites you about the role. Why are you excited, to apply for this job or to be considered for this job? The second one is that of skills. You need to showcase the relevant skills. And then the mindset. This is where your emotional intelligence comes in. The employer wants to see that you have an impact-driven mindset. So this is where you talk about, data-driven decisions that you have undertaken and so forth, because they really want to understand you, and you only have that one page for them to be able to understand who you are. All right. So basically, we've covered now the resume, the CV, and then the cover letter. So on the cover letter in itself, before you complete it, ensure that you have signed it off. And then on the cover letter, you can still conclude with a strong call of action, where you indicate or inform the recruiter that you have attached your CV, and then you are welcoming the opportunity to discuss your background. This is where now you are expressing your interest. And then also, you can thank the recruiter for their time and their consideration. This is still in the cover letter, so that then they can they can see that, okay, this person is really interested and they are thankful, and then they are available for us to call them for an interview or for further information and so forth. So now you're about to finalize your cover letter. Very important. I've mentioned it in the CV and the resume writing. You need to proofread. Check for any spelling or grammatical errors. Nowadays, we have softwares that can assist us with that. So please do ensure that you check, because the first impressions, remember, this person or this recruiter or even the system in itself they've never met you. So the moment there's a lot of grammatical errors, then we know that, okay, even if we appoint this person, there's always going to be errors in all the work that they provide. So it will say a lot about you. So ensure that you check for any spelling or grammatical errors, maintain a formal and professional tone. And then I indicated earlier on to say that some systems or even email applications, if you send it on Word, it can lose the formatting, it can lose the font and the size and so forth. So ideally, save your documents as PDF and send them through as PDF so that then they don't lose the formatting that you have done already on the document. So now you have completed your CV, your resume, and your cover letter. Then it's now for you to submit it. So my key takeaways from that part is that, we always have to customize our templates. We must always highlight our achievements. Very, very important. I think I should have highlighted this in red. Always proofread your cover letter before submitting it. And you can always follow up. However, don't make it to be too obvious to say the closing date is today. Tomorrow, I'm already contacting the employer to say, okay, I applied for this position. I haven't heard from you and so forth. Give it time. Say after a month, you can always drop an email just to find out. They will let you know whether they will come back to you in a month or in a week or whatever it is. Or in most cases nowadays, employers will give an indication to say that only shortlisted candidates will be contacted. And especially for organizations with the online systems, recruitment systems, it will already automatically give an indication, even immediately after you complete applying, that unfortunately this application was not successful. So but in cases where you haven't received any feedback whatsoever, then you can always follow up, but don't do it like very frequent. You can do it, say, a month after the closing date, and then thereafter, depending on the feedback that they are going to provide to you. All right. So moving on, because now we have the CV, we have the cover letter, we have the resume. However, the most important part is the soft skills to it. Because remember, we need to distinguish ourselves. We are now showcasing for this very important role. How do we distinguish ourselves? So that's where we come in to talk about emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence basically is the ability for us to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions. So this is a vital skill in all workplaces. So demonstrating emotional intelligence shows that you are not only capable, because yes, you will have the master's or the PhD, you'll have the skills, you'll have the previous experience, but are you able to collaborate? Are you able to adapt? Are you a good communicator? So this is where now the emotional intelligence comes in. So whenever you are, even in your CV and your cover letter, ensure that you bring out these soft skills. You bring them out to life. This is how you demonstrate your abilities. This is your abilities to basically navigate complex situations. In organizations, we work with people from different backgrounds, people who have been in organizations for long. You are coming in, how do you deal with conflict situations? How do you deal with different interpersonal skills? How do you deal? So this is where you come in with emotional intelligence to show that you are able to work with, diverse individuals. Say, for example, now you get the opportunity to go and work in Germany. You'll find that then you are from Namibia, you grew up in Namibia, or you are from, say, any other SADC country, then you are going there. They have a different way of doing things. So if your emotional intelligence is low, you'll find it very difficult to be able to adapt. So what I'm trying to say here is that this can already include this already in the application, so that the employer or the recruiter is able to pick this up to say, okay, no, this person is adaptable, and this is what they have done in situations such as A, B, C, D. So with emotional intelligence, it's then the self-awareness, where you are able to respond to feedback with maturity. It's the empathy, where you support your colleagues and understand their perspectives, because sometimes you might find that whatever it is that I say is right. However, you should always listen to other perspectives. We should always try to understand things from a different angle. It's about relationship management, because many a times we are working in teams. And then we need perhaps, a certain information to be able to carry out my work. So if I'm not able to work with the next person, then unfortunately, somewhere along the line, we'll break the chain and we won't be able to deliver. Adaptability, I've touched on it, very important. And then all our actions must be able to tell a story. So one of the questions that I always receive, and I've actually, I touched on it briefly earlier on, is that if say now there's no opportunities that have been advertised, can I reach out to companies? My answer to you is yes, definitely. Do send yourself out there. If you are hiding, nobody will be able to see you. So yes, do reach out to companies. So this is something which is proactive, where you can significantly enhance your application's visibility. Because in most instances, especially with the research positions, some of them, the opportunity might be there. However, perhaps it's only due to networks that you'll be able to learn of it, and then you submit. Some are not advertised, some are agent, some are. So reach out to companies. You know exactly, okay, maybe I want to work perhaps in Germany. I want to do a work in a research environment. So already you have the information that was shared with Rebecca. I think she will share the presentation. Then reach out to those organizations, even though opportunities are not there, because you want to, for the people to be aware or to be visible to the recruiters. So you need to have positive connections within the industry that you are working in, because it's always worth reaching out. I'll take you through on the reaching out, other avenues that we can be able to utilize on reaching out. However, these connections, they provide valuable insights, about positions, and then potentially positions that will be advertised in the future. So as somebody who is now completing their PhD, you need to identify your connections. You must find mutual contacts or team members. You need to reach out, build relationships, attend seminars, attend network gatherings, attend webinars, and then leverage on your applications. Mention the connections that you have appropriately, in the sense that you have worked perhaps for this specific organization on this project, and then this is linked to that organization or this position in a certain way. This is just basically you trying to take yourself out there. So this is still on the winning application that we've been talking about. We covered the emotional intelligence, even though it was quite brief. We've covered the CV, the resume, and the cover letter. So my final thoughts basically on this is that the applications basically communicate two things. Firstly, you are highly qualified and you want the position. So whether you are transitioning from academia to industry, or whether you are staying in academia to academia, or you are seeking your first post-doc position, tailor each application to the job description. Get the job description. Show your emotional intelligence in your application, which is now both your CV or resume and cover letter, and be thoughtful in how you present your experience. Remember that even if your background isn't a perfect fit on paper, a strong narrative, strategic framing, a well-written cover letter can often be the deciding factor in getting to the interview stage, or even getting to the human, because remember, the first part will be the software. So for you to come out from the software through to the human. So I'll repeat, or my final thoughts on that is to say, tailor your application, demonstrate your emotional intelligence, and then create a compelling narrative. So there are some sites that you can utilize to be able to, they are free sites, of course, that you can utilize to be able just to analyze and see whether you are able to go past the tracking system. So I've put down a few. I'll share this presentation in any case, but I just wanted us to do a quick exercise so that then you can be able to see. I want to change my screens. Dr. Mabuko, just tell me what you are seeing on that side. Are you still seeing the presentation?
Yes, we are seeing the presentation. My perfectionism. What story? Yeah. We are still seeing your
That's
slides.
all right.
Yeah, now we can't see anything.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
All
I
right.
just want to. Okay, so from those, are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, we are able to see the screen.
Okay, from what I had indicated earlier, those different softwares that you can utilize, I'm utilizing my job scan or job scan rather, just for us to be able to see you. You know, you can already test your CV now with the position which is available to see whether you're compatible or not. So I'll just use a CV that I'll get from, that I just prepared, a John Doe CV. One moment. So that then we can see how you can be able to, okay. We have the CV, and then we need the job description. Again, I have a job description of a John Doe. So for yourself, the position is advertised. So you take the advert as advertised, you just copy it and then you paste it there. Then you have your CV because you've crafted your own CV. And then once you are done, you are scanning for compatibility. So that then you can just see what happens in real life when you are now applying for a job, a specific job. Before you do the actual submission, will your application get a chance to go through to the humans, or will it just end by the part where it's still on the system and you get rejected at that stage? So as you can see that with the John Doe CV and John Doe job description that I've utilized, the match rate is 36%, which is quite low, very low. So we can see already
Throw it
that
at that point.
we can see already it can show you that, okay, these are the where you are not. Okay, the summary, very good. We found the summary section on your resume, good job. You know, section headings, we couldn't find an education section on your resume. So already the automatic software will now throw you off because they say that, okay, no, you don't have an education. So what do we do while we are requesting for a master's or a PhD, yet you don't have an education? So that's where you get to see that, okay, no, there's probably something wrong with my CV. I need to go back to my CV and ensure that it is compatible, because then this will be the same applicant tracking system that you will submit to when there are opportunities. All right. Then I just want to find out from the team here. I need you to just go on Menti, just go on your URL and type in, or just go on Google and then just type Mentimeter. Just by show of hands, perhaps you can raise your hand once you've typed in Mentimeter. I'll just put back the slide so that then you have, because I just want to understand who of you, because we are now actively seeking for jobs. Are we taking ourselves out there, or are we waiting for opportunities to come? So I just want to hear from you whether you are now really doing it. Are you taking yourself out there? Okay, just type in the code is there, 14103075. I see only one. I only see Chris. Chris is the only one. Okay, the rest haven't. I only see Chris still. Dr. Mabuku?
Yes,
You also haven't gone on?
I have. I'm on actually. It's
Okay.
saying, please wait for the presenter to change slides.
Yes, I'm just waiting for.
Okay, for others.
Yeah. Okay.
We've lost her.
No, I'm here.
You are still there. We don't see anything on the screen.
Okay, no, I was changing the
okay.
screen.
Okay, okay.
Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. From all participants, it seems that we only have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, people are responding. What I just want to hear from you is, do you currently have an active LinkedIn account? So with LinkedIn, I'm taking you back to one of my slides where we were talking about taking yourself out there. I think this is where then, as somebody who is now looking for opportunities, you need to have a LinkedIn account and it must be active. You need to be interacting because this is where you get your networks. This is where you get to understand what is happening out there, opportunities and so forth. So I see that it's a good thing that 11 out of the 16 that responded are using it regularly. However, we have 2 that have, but then they rarely use it. 1 that doesn't have, and then 2 that are not interested in having one. So the 2 and the 1, consider having, so that at least you can take yourself out there, because opportunities normally, especially nowadays, you find recruiters that just go on LinkedIn and then they are contacting you directly, as opposed to the traditional way of advertising opportunities. All right. So the next one is, do you currently have an active Academic Keys account? Do you currently have an active Academic Keys account? We have 1, no, but I plan to create one soon. That's the only response that we have. We have 4. Okay, 6. We have 1, 2 who have, but they rarely use it. We have 10, 12. Okay, the reason why I brought in Academic Keys is that Academic Keys is much more fitted or suited for academic positions and research positions. This is where you find the like-minded people who are much more interested in research, and research and academic positions are being placed here. So for you to be able to see opportunities, go on sites such as your Academic Keys. LinkedIn, yes, it is good. However, it is much more industry specific. You'll find that with the industry, if you really want to go into industry, yes, very good, fair enough. Be active on LinkedIn, then you'll get opportunities that are meant for industry. However, research, university, academic, I would really recommend that you get an Academic Keys account and then be active on it, so that then you can be able to engage with like-minded people. The last one is, do you currently have an active ResearchGate account? Can we get responses? We have 2, no. 1, yes. 3, okay. At least 3, 3, 2. 5, yes, but rarely 4, no, but I plan. Okay. With the 5 that plan to creating, please do so, because on ResearchGate as well, opportunities are being put up. Universities all over the world, you get to connect with researchers, with academics and so forth. So let's make use of all these opportunities that are out there. I think the main important message that I'm trying to send here is to say that, yes, opportunities will be advertised. However, take yourself out there so that then you can be seen by the recruiters. All right, and then my last slide, just in 1 or 2 words, what was the most valuable takeaway from today's session? 1 or 2 words. It can be 1 word, anything. What was your most valuable takeaway from today's session? Is everybody there? Okay, informative. Emotional intelligence, ATS, how to create a CV. Okay, action words, using leverage, networking, quality. So colleagues, that was all from my side. Thank you so much for having me. And Dr. Mabuku, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, Marjorie. I think this is what we actually wanted to hear from you, and you have actually delivered what we wanted you to do. So thank you so much. We really appreciate. Let me open this flow 10 minutes for questions. Any questions from the audience? I know
I
that
see
there's
Tuyani.
also some.
Tuyani's hand there.
Tuyen, is she around? Because she had said she was going to leave. Tuyen, are you still here?
Her hand was up just now. Okay.
Just now. Tuyeni,
Yes.
are you there?
Okay.
She's not there, but I think she wrote on the chat. Yeah, there's yeah, see, she had the first question she asked, can I have a relative as a referee? That is the first question. What if we are not in good terms with my line manager? Hence, I excluded him or her from my CV referees. Please advise. I think
All
those are
right.
the questions that I see. So we are recording this, so we are going to put this on our, our YouTube channel. She'll be able to listen to, I think, your responses, even if she's not here.
All right. The first question, can I have a relative as a referee? Remember, this is a professional setting, so it's all about your job. It now depends, is your relative your line manager? Have you worked with your relative on a project? However, remember, this is about credibility, and you don't want anything that has to, that brings question marks with regards to your credibility. So if you can avoid that, please do that by all means, because the moment it's out there, in as much as perhaps maybe you worked on the same project and so forth, there should have been somebody else that worked with you. There should have been a supervisor or so forth. Unless this is your line manager, then that's when you can include it. However, normally in most circumstances, you'll find that perhaps you report to a director, then there's an executive director. So ideally, I would recommend that then you put the next person in line just to avoid any questions with regards to your credibility, because now it's your credibility that is being questioned, and you don't want to jeopardize anything that has to do then with your application, or at least you getting that opportunity to be called for that position. That is the one. Then the second one is where you asked whether if you are not in good terms with your line manager, then again, I take you back to the response that I just provided. It's actually two things. It depends on what has transpired. However, ideally, because this is a professional setup, but then we know that in some instances, people might not really be objective. So if you find that this is going to jeopardize your chances, then utilize the line manager's manager. Because remember, this person that you are putting on as a referee, you have to talk to them and inform them that I've put you on my CV or my resume and I'm out there looking for work. So somebody might be in contact with you. So you might not be in good terms, for example, with your line manager. However, professionally, you are working well together, but you don't have any other, it depends, because these things happen in organizations and we see them. So if the professional aspect is working, you can put that line manager. You've discussed with the line manager, they are clear and they've accepted. However, I would highly recommend that you rather put your line manager's line manager. All right.
Okay, and then she also have an advice, I think, for the participants. She's saying, reach out to people in your field via LinkedIn. Social media is very powerful. I can testify. LinkedIn helped me to connect to a lot of people. So I think that is the advice that she's given to other colleagues. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Any question from anyone? Are we tired? We don't want any clarification from Marjorie, nothing. We are clear, everything is okay. Okay, I don't see any hand. But before we close, I would just like to also maybe call our director, Professor Aufolo, just to give votes of thanks and close, I think, this seminar for today. Prof. Aufolo, are you there? Are you online? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Dr. Mabuku. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay.
It's
Over to you.
basically, you are the facilitator, so basically you're still going to close. I just want to lend my voice, just briefly, just to thank, yourself for actually, and Dr. Dlamini for putting this, this seminar together, and of course to appreciate our presenters. It takes time. It takes intellectual quality time to put together, valuable and informative presentations like this. Ms. Muktasa, Catherine, as well as Prof. Kawawa. It's quite fantastic. And of course, for yourself, the facilitator, and Dr. Dlamini as well, and as well as our audience as well. I'm sure they would have taken one or two things out of the presentation. Thank you so much. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, Prof. You have heard it all. Thank you so much for participating in today's seminar. We are going to share the recording. If you'd want to come back and listen more on our YouTube channel, Rene will do that for us. And the presentation, I hope Ms. Mukasa, you will share your presentation so that we can share with our participants. We will share, I think everyone registered and your email address are recorded. So we are going to share all the presentation that were shared today. On that note, okay, we'll share, when we share everything, we'll share also the YouTube channel wherever we are going to share our recording. So on that note, I would like to thank everyone and close this seminar for today. Bye.